Chapter 848. They are going to attack. Zhang Wei turned back to look at Feng Jixing. His eyes were filled with helplessness. He himself was a fighting general, and he was only proficient in killing on the battlefield. In terms of commanding troops and formations, Zhang Wei probably couldn't even be ranked in the top 100 among the generals of the entire Qin Empire. At this time, Feng Jixing finally stood up shakily, and with the help of 2 guards, he walked to the edge of the city wall. He carefully looked at everything on the battlefield, and said, "Change the formation, use the strange formation to break the whole formation into parts." Yes. The flag was waved, and the drums were beating loudly. The strange formation was a formation that Feng Jixing had comprehended after many years of research on formations. The dust on the battlefield flew up, and the whole Jianghu battle formation turned into 16 arrows, shooting at 16 angles of the pocket formation, like nails nailing the opponent's formation. The cavalry took the lead, and the shield soldiers and archers followed. In an instant, the whole formation was broken into parts, and there were 16 small Jianghu battle formations, and each battle formation had about 3,000 people. Attack formation. Feng Jixing ordered loudly. The drums were thunderous, and the 16 Jianghu battle formations under the city wall flew up, and the shields hit the opponent's formation with clanging sounds. The cavalry suddenly stabbed, using the method of attacking the surface, and the formation spun rapidly. How could the soldiers of the Tianji Empire resist? In the blink of an eye, there were already many casualties, and it was a mess. The Jianghu battle formation could be broken into 16 small battle formations, but the pocket formation couldn't, because there were too few people, and it was impossible to form a large area of encirclement, not to mention that the Jianghu battle formation in front of them was like a top spinning at high speed, and before the pocket formation could be formed, it was torn apart again, and it was of no help at all. Dragon Knight, attack! Gong Shangming shouted loudly. In the sky, the giant dragon soared, and suddenly swooped down. Inside the Jianghu battle formation, Luo Yu held a saber in her hand as she charged forward on her warhorse. She shouted, "Use the heavenly book and burn them to death." Each of the 16 battle formations took out a heavenly book, and they were all heavenly books of the law of fire. There was no lack of heavenly books among them. Immediately, balls of flames were spat out into the air. The Dragon Knight's dragon battle spin could block the demonic crystals, but it could not block the divine power of the heavenly books. In the blink of an eye, all of them were burned black and battered. There were even a few Dragon Knights with slightly lower levels of cultivation who were directly buried under the power of the heavenly books. Ao ao ao, the sorrowful cries of the dragons were one after another. Nearly 20 Dragon Knights were burned back together, unable to lead the battle at all. Magic crystal crossbow, fire. Luo Yu commanded the troops to charge back and forth. The archers all switched to special magic crystal crossbows and fired the magic crystal arrows into the enemy's formation that had lost the protection of the dragon riders. In an instant, mushroom clouds appeared, and the sounds of people shouting and horses neighing could be heard. At this point, the first battle's outcome was already decided. The sounds of killing rushed into the heavens from within the valley. The Imperial Guard's iron hooves chased after the defeated flowing light army's front line, beheading countless people. Clang! Clang! 2 drumsticks fell to the ground. Gong Shangming stood silently on the general platform. He couldn't believe what he saw in front of him. He actually lost so miserably in the first battle with the Qin Empire, so thoroughly. There were constantly defeated soldiers escaping from the valley, but there weren't many of them. Most of the soldiers had already been buried in the valley. The sound of the magic crystal crossbows was like the tune of their death. The front line is finished. Castor sat down on the ground and muttered, "My 50,000 brothers. Commander. Commander." A few captaincy surrounded Castor and helped him up. However, Castor's gaze was like a sharp sword that could pierce through his heart as he stared at Gong Shangming. The veins on his face popped up as he said angrily, "Gong Shangming, what have you done? Didn't you say that the front line could defeat the Qin Empire with 50,000 soldiers? Why is it like this?" Gong Shangming gritted his teeth and slowly walked down the platform. His eyes were full of confusion as he said dejectedly, Feng Jixing is not dead. Feng Jixing is definitely not dead. What did you say? Come with me to see the general. Castor grabbed Gong Xiangming's collar and flew him to the center of the army. Boom! Gong Xiangming was thrown down from the sky. His face was ashen as he fell onto the carpet in the middle of the army. His face was pale as he laid on the ground. It was as if he had died, but he was still muttering, Feng Jixing must not be dead. Otherwise, I wouldn't have lost. What happened? Someone come, help him up. Bai Minghuan said in a low voice. Castor knelt down on one knee and said, General, the 50,000 soldiers of the Flowing Spirit Corps disappeared in the blink of an eye. Less than a tenth of our brothers made it back. This is all because of Gong Xiangming's poor command. General, please help my 50,000 brothers. General Castor, I can understand how you feel, but this is not Mr. Gong Xiangming's fault. Bai Minghuan said indifferently, I used my divine power to check just now. Just like what you said, Feng Jixing is indeed not dead. This battle was indeed commanded by Feng Jixing himself. Mr. Gong is good at strategy, but not formations. This is not his fault. Then my dead brothers died in vain? Castor's face was very ugly. Soldiers die in battle. This is the law of war. They died for the country, and the Tianji Empire will remember them forever. Commander, please don't look into it anymore. Victory and defeat are common things in war. If one is to be held accountable for a defeat, then who would still serve the empire? Who would dare to serve the empire? Bai Minghuan's voice was very calm, but each word was filled with power. The other could not say anything else. Castor gritted his teeth and said, Yes. An old general said, after this defeat, Mr. Gong must have lost his confidence. He is no longer suitable to command this battle. I think we should find someone else. Military counselor? Bai Minghuan asked. Gong Xiangming did not say anything. But the generals behind him all knelt down and said in unison, General, please find someone else. Ha 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 ha, Gong Xiangming suddenly threw his head back and laughed maniacally. He turned around and strode out of the central tent. Every few steps he took, he would stagger. He looked like a drunkard. Castor frowned. Marshal, Gong Xiangming has committed a great crime of disrespect. Marshal, please punish him. Otherwise, if everyone is as unscrupulous as him, wouldn't the empire's laws be messed up? Bai Minghuan narrowed his eyes. No need to say more. Gong Xiangming is a strange man, and he has his own quirks. I do not blame him. Tell me, what should we do next? Who will take over Gong Xiangming's command? An old general cupped his fists and said, I recommend General Zhou Xinyao. Zhou Xinyao? Yes, Zhou Xianxia was once a diplomatic envoy to the Qin Empire's eastern capital, Winter Frost City. He was fearless in the face of danger and was highly adaptable. Furthermore, he had been well versed in military books since he was young and was well versed in the art of troop deployment. Among the dozens of military advisors of the empire, only Zhou Xianxia could be compared to Gong Xiangming. Since Mr. Gong is no longer suitable to command, why not let Zhou Xianxia have a try? Where is Zhou Xinyao? Bai Minghuan said in a low voice. Yes, General. Among the strategists, Zhou Xianxia stepped out and saluted, whatever the marshal commands, Zhou Xianxia will not hesitate to go through fire and water. Bai Minghuan smiled. Zhou Xinyao, our vanguard has been defeated. What should we do now? Yes, after the victory, the enemy's morale will be boosted, but they will also become proud soldiers. Zhou Xinyao was wearing a black brocade robe. As the saying goes, proud soldiers will be defeated. To us, Mr. Gong's defeat is a bad thing, but it is also a good thing. The last time I went on a diplomatic mission, I took a close look at the structure of their steel walls. The outside is very sturdy, but the inside is empty. It can be said that the Qin Empire's governance is very corrupt. Even a fortification like the steel walls would be misused. As long as the war drums sound, we will slowly advance with the heavy shield soldiers, the stone chariots will cover and smash, and the dragon riders will protect. Finally, we will use the thunder chariots to blast open the walls. Once the steel walls are razed to the ground, the Lingdong Plains will be the world of the tiger leopard cavalry, the nightmare of the Qin people. Bai Minghuan was overjoyed. That's good. Men, give Zhou Xinyao 100 bolts of brocade and 500 taels of gold. He will be a military counselor and immediately command the army. Yes, General. After the sun had set, the day's battle had ended, and the Luo River estuary had over 40,000 corpses of the flowing spirit army lying on the ground with no one to collect them. The cold wind blew, and the corpses seemed to be telling of the outcome of the battle. Reporting to Your Highness. The commander's residence was brightly lit. Zhang Wei's face was filled with joy. We have calculated, the flowing spirit army's frontline army has lost more than 43,000 men, and we have captured 4,000 of them. Only 2,000 managed to escape. We have destroyed their morale in this battle. It was too satisfying. Feng Jixing did not dare to laugh. If he did, the wounds on his face would tear apart. He just sat there like an emotionless person. Tonight, be on guard against Bai Minghuan's sneak attack. Tang Xiaoxi said, we cannot let them use the same trick again. Yes. Feng Jixing nodded. At this time, the messenger rushed in and said, reporting to the two highnesses, Princess Shi, His Highness King Qin has a letter. A letter from Mu. Tang Xiaoxi hurriedly took it and opened the small scroll. It was indeed Lin Muyu's handwriting, and it was very good calligraphy. After so many years in the Broken Cauldron realm, Lin Muyu had always been learning calligraphy. Now, his calligraphy could be said to have its own style. Although it was much inferior to Qin Yin's calligraphy, it was still passable. What did you say? Feng Jixing asked. Tang Xiaoxi looked up and said, Mu congratulated us on today's victory. But he said that the Tianji Empire will definitely launch an even fiercer attack tomorrow. He has already gathered Situ Sen, Wei Chou, Situ Shui, and the others at the foot of the Tianqiong Snow Mountain. He has gathered nearly 30,000 elites from the Longdan army camp. Tomorrow, he will send a letter. The Longdan army camp will set fire to the Flowing Dawn army and advance behind them. They will cooperate with us to completely defeat them. Good. Feng Jixing happily slammed his fist on the table, but his excitement affected his wounds. He immediately sat down in pain and said, the Imperial Guards also lost more than 10,000 people today. Tomorrow's battle will be even more bitter. We can't let their dragon riders get close to the steel protective wall, or else the magic crystal cannons will be lost. Who will come out to fight tomorrow? Everyone was dumbfounded. The Tianji Empire would definitely turn out in full strength for tomorrow's battle. They still had more than 200,000 soldiers. Who would be able to stop them? Zheng Yifan knew that the Divine Might Battalion's tens of thousands of men would definitely not be a match for them. The Zither Dragon army under Su Yu's command would also not be able to fight on their own. The military strength of the other feudal vassals was less than 10,000 people. None of them could be the main force of the battle. At this moment, a general stood up majestically and said, National Army, let's go. It was Tang Zhen. Feng Jixing was stunned. There are only 50,000 people in the National Army. No way. Linghu Yan, who was beside Tang Zhen, also stood up and bowed. She said, Your Highness Prince Xian, what if we add in the demon race's 200,000 soldiers? Feng Jixing pondered for a long time and said, Tomorrow, the Tianji Empire will send out all of their elite troops. Among them, the beast cavalry includes tiger, leopard, wolf, badger, and rhinoceros. Tens of thousands of beast cavalry will charge forward with great power. Do you two know what it means to go to war? Yes. Tang Zhen said calmly, soldiers are trained for 1,000 days and used in one day. For the Empire, I am willing to die on the battlefield. Linghu Yan also said, I will follow my husband forever. Tang Xiaoxi remained silent. She wanted very much to stop Linghu Yan and Tang Zhen from stepping onto this fierce battlefield, but she could not do so. Chapter 849. Tianxiong Snow Mountain was a mountain range that stretched for hundreds of miles. It was also the boundary between Lingdong Province and Tongtian Province. Tianxiong Snow Mountain was covered in snow all year round. Now that it was spring, the snow on the mountainside had melted, turning into streams that flowed down along the mountain path. Flags fluttered in the wind in the valleys on both sides of the streams. There was an army secretly stationed here. It was the Longdan army camp led by Lin Muyu. The valley was located under a rock wall, and the long, rugged rock wall was like a huge arm that protected the valley, causing this land to be unable to see the sun all year round. However, it also protected everything in the valley. As a result, there were dragon knights flying across the sky almost every day, but no one could see the Bile dragon camp that was stationed here. Lin Muyu's white robe was severely damaged. The armor on his chest had a mark left by a dragon sword. His white cloak was stained with blood and covered in holes caused by arrows. Although the enemy's spears and arrows could not penetrate Lin Muyu's divine power wall, it was still very easy for them to pierce through the cloak. He sat on a cold rock, surrounded by divine power. He let out a long sigh, and his eyes shone brightly. Obviously, his cultivation had also increased by a level. Congratulations on breaking through again, Your Highness. Wei Qiu happily congratulated him from the side. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, looked calm. He said, I've finally reached the 25th grotto heaven, but it's still too slow. There are too many dragon knights in the Tianji Empire. I can't defeat them. It's already not bad. Your Highness has the Supreme Godhead. It's a holy existence only recorded in ancient books. I don't think it's that easy to cultivate and improve. Yes. In the distance, Situsen walked over with his hand on the hilt of his sword. General Sun, how is it? I'm afraid we can't hold on for much longer. Situsen said with a solemn face, we can only eat our rations with cold water. Many people are already sick, and our rations can only last us until noon. This is not the most serious problem. The most serious problem should be the fodder. We didn't bring any fodder to the Heavens Vault Snow Mountain, and many warhorses are starving. Your Highness, what should we do? I'm fine. Lin Muyu waved his hand and said with confidence, today we can determine the winner and loser. Pass down the order, the whole army is ready. As soon as the sun rises, we will go down the mountain, go straight to the back of the camp of the Lu Ji army, and attack them. But we only have 30,000 men left. Even if we launch a surprise attack, we won't be able to escape unscathed. Situsen was a little anxious. His eyes were red as he said, Your Highness, our Dragon's Courage regiment used to be so majestic. With 200,000 men, we were known as the strongest army in the empire. But now, after the bloody battles in the 8 wastelands and half a month of fierce battles in the Tongtian province, the Dragon's Courage regiment only has 30,000 men left. Your Highness, please preserve the bloodline of the Longdan army camp. Don't let these 30,000 brothers die. Otherwise, there will be no more Longdan army camp in this world. I know. Lin Muyu stepped forward and held on to Situsen's arm. Along the way, many of his brothers and sisters had died in battle. How could he remain indifferent? Don't worry. The winner will be decided in the battle at noon today. Lin Muyu slowly pulled out her long sword and said, well, everyone, get ready for battle. In this battle, we must make the Tianji Empire tremble with fear at the mention of our Longdan army camp. Yes. The moment the first ray of the sun pierced through the clouds, people in the valley shouted and horses neighed. A large number of cavalrymen in light armor marched out of the valley one by one with spears and swords in their hands. However, they did not urge their horses to gallop. Instead, they just let the horses trot forward. They tried their best to preserve the horses' strength and waited for the real battle. 2 hours later. Dong, 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 the dense sound of war drums echoed under the steel protective wall. In the distance, the army of the Tianji Empire entered the Luo River estuary. The soldiers with heavy shields were in front, and the wolf soldiers were in the back, pushing the steel chariots. The sky was covered with gloomy clouds. It seemed that it was going to rain soon. On the city wall, many of the empire's generals who were watching the battle felt a chill in their hearts. The Tianji Empire's army was neat and orderly. This time, it was obvious that they did not intend to fight in formation. Instead, they wanted to swarm in. In the face of these sharp catapults, stone chariots, and thunder chariots, what would the empire use to resist them? Zhenfang frowned and pressed his hand on his sword. He murmured, "Is this the true strength of the Tianji Empire?" Su Yu's face was full of anxiety. She said softly, "God bless my great Qin." However, Feng Jixing had already changed into a military uniform. He raised the red phoenix saber and said loudly, "Beat the drums and prepare for battle." The drums of the empire sounded. Rows of demons and soldiers of the National Guarding Army, who had already left the city, marched forward one after another. Their long halberds were like a forest, and their sabers were as sharp as snow. The drums were dense, like a storm. Soon, the city was covered with a layer of imperial purple Yinhua flags. The purple Yinhua was the emblem of the Qin family. It was like the symbol of a nation. For thousands of years, many warriors had fought for it and shed their blood on the yellow sand. Now, in this battle, a strong enemy had invaded. The purpose of all the civilians and soldiers of the Qin Empire to join the battle became simple and simple. They were bound by the common enemy to protect their homeland. Was there any better reason? Dong. Dong, the commander of the National Guarding Army, Tang Zhen, slowly pulled out his sword. The morning light shone on his weathered face, making him look firm and calm. The 3 golden stars on his neck shone with a moving luster. Tang Zhen licked his chapped lips and shouted loudly, "Brothers of the National Guarding Army, Her Highness has given us the name of National Guarding Army. Today, we will use our blood to defend the prestige of the National Guarding Army. Prepare for battle, kill the enemy, and raise the prestige of our country." Everyone raised their weapons and shouted in unison, "Kill the enemy, and raise the prestige of our country." The shout resounded through the sky. In the crowd, a war horse slowly moved out. On the back of the horse was a beautiful girl in red armor. It was Tang Xiaoxi. The National Guarding whip was wrapped around her waist, and she was holding a long sword in her hand. It was more convenient for her to charge and break through the enemy's formation. This time, Tang Xiaoxi was no longer a leader. She was going to fight the enemy with the demons and the National Guarding Army. Not far away, Ling Hu Yan's face showed a hint of relief. She said loudly, "My fellow demons, Her Highness, she is going to fight with us." With just a simple sentence, the blood of the fox tribe, bear tribe, snake tribe, and werewolf tribe was already boiling. They raised their weapons at the strong enemy in the distance. The demon army was different from the human army. Many of them were born beasts, but they had human nature. Therefore, when facing the tiger and leopard cavalry, the demon army had an advantage. Even a pack of wolves could kill a tiger, not to mention they were a stronger race. Dong, 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 the sound of the war drums became more intense. The morning light from the east cast the shadows of the soldiers on the barren land. The sound of the horses' hooves gradually became more intense. Go! Go! Tang Zhen quickly whipped his horse, and it started galloping. The group of National Garrison Army behind him also urged their horses to gallop. Nearly 5,000 cavalrymen were all wearing the dark blue armor of the Tianji Empire. They flooded forward like a blue ocean, directly colliding with the heavy shield soldiers and spear soldiers of the Tianji Empire. The moment the powerful impact of the warhorses knocked the shields away, Tang Zhen also stabbed his sharp sword into the throat of a heavy shield soldier. With a "pu" sound, the first blood of this battle flowed out. Kill! Dust flew up from the ground. Both sides were fighting in a chaotic battle. There was no formation or strategy to speak of. However, this was a real war. It was an exchange of life and strength. Roar, 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 in the sky, the dragon knight spurred his giant dragon to dive down, pouring dragon flames onto the crowd. Meanwhile, the goblin army on the ground hurled their spears in response. Instantly, the chaotic attacks landed on the Dragon Knight's imperial battle spin, but it did not have much effect. The arrows flew randomly, shaking the giant dragon's scales. After only 2 rounds of attacks, the Dragon Knight had no choice but to urge his giant dragon to charge into the sky. If the distance was too close, the giant dragon would not be able to withstand too many concentrated attacks. On the ground, there were bursts of flames, and columns of smoke rose into the sky. Many dragons flew around in the sky like big bats, making the people on the ground helpless. This won't do. Feng Jixing raised his eyebrows and said, "Zhang Wei, immediately bring 5,000 imperial soldiers out of the city to reinforce the army. Push the dragon hunting net made by Lord Qin Xiling up to test its effect." "Yes." Zhang Wei flipped and jumped off the city wall. In the next moment, a few city gates opened, and black chariots were pushed out. This was a type of chariot that was controlled by mechanical springs. What was thrown out wasn't torch stones or spears, but a large net. The large net was densely covered with tiny prickles. These prickles were all tempered with demonic heart stones. However, the dragon hunting net had only been made recently, and it hadn't been tested yet. No one knew if it would be effective, so they could only try it as a last resort. Aim. Zhang Wei held his long saber and urged his horse to walk in front of the crowd. He waved his long saber and cut down the enemies one by one. Suddenly, he stretched out his hand and pointed into the distance. "That's it. Calibrate and prepare to fire." A group of soldiers stopped the chariot that was carrying the dragon hunting net. After calibrating, they shot it out with a "paw" sound. The small net opened up in the air and became a large net that was tens of meters wide. However, the fire dragon knight in the sky seemed to have expected this. He suddenly pulled the reins, and the dragon's dorsal fin shook. He quickly turned around and avoided the dragon hunting net. Again. "Push the chariots forward," Zhang Wei commanded. Close to 20 dragon hunting net chariots followed his orders and entered the crowd. Although it might not be effective, it could at least serve as a deterrent. Hong! A wave of flames engulfed the crowd. It was Tang Xiaoxi's fire sword Qi. It almost swallowed a group of tiger leopard cavalry. That was not all. After raising her palm, a huge god's engraving seal fell into the crowd, turning a group of madly charging heavy cavalry into ashes. Tang Xiaoxi's attack greatly boosted the morale of the soldiers, but her own god power was being depleted quickly. She didn't continue to use the fire fox seal. Instead, she raised her sharp sword and swept through the crowd. After following Lin Muyu for so long, Tang Xiaoxi's swordsmanship had improved greatly. At the very least, it was more than enough for her to charge and break through enemy lines. Fresh blood nourished the ground. Both sides stabbed, charged, and slaughtered each other. They used each other's injuries to determine the outcome of the battle. Chapter 850. By noon, the losses on both sides were incalculable. The land to the north of the steel wall was covered with corpses, and the entire land was about to be dyed red. Both sides fought fiercely, and the initial charge turned into a scene of slaughter. The entire Luo River estuary was filled with people, and cries of killing and unwillingness could be heard everywhere. Roar, 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 the tiger leopard cavalry was exceptionally fierce. The war tiger bit the neck of the opponent's mount, forcibly tearing off a piece of the warhorse's flesh and chewing it in a ferocious manner. The fact proved that the human mounts were indeed unable to resist the tiger leopard. The entire battlefield was filled with the roars of the tiger leopard and the neighing of the warhorses. It was extremely tragic. As time went by, the demon race's army also showed signs of fatigue. Groups of Nagas were squeezed together by the heavy shield soldiers, and then they were pierced by countless spears, causing blood to gush out violently. The Fox tribe's cavalry, tiger leopard cavalry, and wolf cavalry clashed with each other. People constantly fell off their horses and died. Linghu Yen angrily charged into the crowd, but she was already at her limit. Roar! The bearman tried his best to charge forward, but he was turned into a man of fire by the stone-torch chariots. He howled miserably and fell down. It was an unbearable scene. Madam. Tang Zhen led a group of cavalry and rushed forward, shouting loudly. The moment Ling Hu Yan turned around, she saw that Tang Zhen was already covered in blood, and his chest had been pierced by an arrow. The injury was very serious, and it made Ling Hu Yan's heart feel like it was being stabbed by a knife. Puff! With a muffled sound, a dragon spear pierced through Ling Hu Yan's left leg. The dragon rider holding the dragon spear had a ferocious look on his face. Behind him was a giant dragon that had already died in battle. He pushed the dragon spear and Ling Hu Yan's body to the ground, and roared, "Go to hell, demon woman!" Madam. Tang Zhen galloped over, raised his sharp sword, and slashed at the handle of the dragon spear. Crack! The spear broke, but he also fell to the ground with his horse. He held Ling Hu Yan's body and rolled several meters away. The arrow in his chest was broken, and he coughed violently, and blood gushed out of his mouth. Ling Hu Yan endured the sharp pain and sat up. She held Tang Zhen's body in her arms, but she could only watch him pass out. Tears gushed out of Ling Hu Yan's eyes. Disregarding the dangers on the battlefield, she buried her face in Tang Zhen's neck and cried out, "Don't die, please don't die. Husband, don't leave me alone. Go." A group of tiger leopard riders charged over. But from another direction came a roar, "Go." It was Zhang Wei's voice. He had brought hundreds of people, all of whom were armored soldiers of the imperial army with sabers, swords, and spears. They quickly formed a circle and formed a small Qingquan battle formation. Zhang Wei dismounted from his horse with a long saber in his hand and shouted, "Guards, protect Tang Zhen and Ling Hu Yan. The rest of you, follow me and cover their retreat." Behind him, a chiliarch said loudly, "General Zhang Wei, something terrible has happened. Princess She has led over 30,000 men to be surrounded at the entrance of the valley and can't return. What should we do?" Zhang Wei looked up and saw dust rising into the sky in the distance. The battlefield was in a mess, but he could vaguely see a large number of demon clan soldiers being surrounded in the center. In the sky, a giant dragon was circling and constantly spitting out dragon's breath. What else could they do? At this moment, no one could save Tang Xiaoxi. But with her cultivation, it would not be a problem for her to escape. Don't worry about it. Cover Tang Zhen and his wife's retreat. Yes. Amidst the lingering smoke, the faces of everyone on the steel wall were ashen. The strength of the Tianji Empire had far exceeded everyone's expectations. The 200,000 demon clan soldiers and the 50,000 kingdom guarding army were a total of 250,000 people. They even outnumbered the enemy slightly, but they were completely at a disadvantage in less than half a day. Why aren't they here yet? Feng Jixing looked into the distance, his face full of anxiety. Beside him, Chu Chu said, "Soon. They should be here soon. Forget it, we can't wait any longer." Feng Jixing clenched his teeth and said, "Luo Yu, gather all the imperial guards immediately and follow me out of the city to fight. Rescue Princess Shi and the tens of thousands of demon clan soldiers." "Yes. Prince Xian, be careful. If you leave the city now, it bodes ill," Jin Yifan said in a low voice. "Thank you for your concern, Duke Fan." Feng Jixing took a deep look at him and said, "If I don't come back, Duke Fan's Divine Might Battalion will have to worry about defending the steel wall." Jin Yifan's expression turned solemn as he said in a low voice, "Feng, pass down the order. The Divine Might Battalion is to gather. Once all the Imperial Guards leave the city, we will leave the city immediately. If Prince Xian doesn't come back, how can we have the face to step into the Empire's territory?" "Yes, father." Feng Jixing nodded, feeling gratified. This was how a duke of the Empire should be. Ha 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 ha, Bai Minghuan's hearty laughter came out from the flowing spirit army's camp. He stood on the general platform, looking into the distance as he laughed out loud, "That Qin bastard's army is so weak, I think other than Feng Jixing's imperial guards, the rest of their armies are just a bunch of mobs. The outcome has been decided, Zhou Xinyao, you contributed the most in winning this battle. This move of going all out is indeed powerful. Crushing the opponent with absolute power. Beautiful. Don't worry, after this battle, you will be the chief strategist of the Tianji Empire. Zhou Xinyao smiled respectfully and said, Thank you, Marshal, for your promotion. The rest of the generals also congratulated Zhou Xinyao. But not long after, a messenger suddenly rushed over from the back and said loudly, Marshal, something bad has happened. Many parts of the provisions camp are on fire, and the fire is out of control. What happened? Who is it? Longdan Army Camp. It's Lin Muyu's army. Hasn't Longdan Army Camp been destroyed? Bai Minghuan's mouth twitched. What a bunch of bastards. All the soldiers who are not fighting, follow me. I swear I will kill Lin Muyu. Yes, Marshal. Just as Bai Minghuan was leading thousands of soldiers back to the camp, a column of smoke rose into the sky in the distance. The provisions that the Tianji Empire had prepared for the 300,000 soldiers were all gone. And on the horizon, a black mass of people was coming. It was the cavalry of the Longdan army camp. On the way, they had killed all the soldiers of the Tianji Empire. Almost everyone's swords were stained with blood. And when they saw Bai Minghuan's army, they did not give way at all. Lin Muyu had no choice but to charge. Kill. Situsun raised his sword and shouted, Kill all these Tianji Empire bandits. Kill all these eastern barbarians. Protect our empire. Raise the prestige of our valiant army. Everyone followed suit and shouted, Protect our empire. Raise the prestige of our valiant army. This was the real strongest army of the Qin Empire. Their roars from afar had already scared the generals behind Bai Minghuan. When countless cavalries appeared, many people from the Tianji Empire had already lost their will to fight. Facing such well-trained and powerful soldiers of the Longdan army camp, they had no chance of winning at all. Even if they had a martial god like Bai Minghuan, so what? It's Bai Minghuan. Wei Chou was shocked. Devil's Heart Arrow. Lin Muyu said in a low voice, 500 meters, is that okay? Yes. Wei Chou gave a low grunt as he knocked an arrow and shot it out. This was 500 meters, how could a normal archer have such arm strength and accuracy? But Wei Chou's arrow shot out like a beam of light, aiming right between Bai Minghuan's eyebrows. What? Bai Minghuan snorted and suddenly tilted his head. He grabbed the arrow with his left hand and crushed it. But the arrowhead still flew over and went through a captaincy's head. That was a martial god-level captaincy. Who has such archery skills? Bai Minghuan felt a chill in his heart. No, it didn't hit. Wei Chou hung his bow on the horse's back and pulled out his sword. He could only prepare for close combat. Situsun said, Bai Minghuan is a god emperor. Once he uses his power, I'm afraid we will lose a lot of people. Plus, he brought a lot of people with him. What should we do? Don't worry, you guys just have to charge. Lin Muyu suddenly sheathed his long sword and clasped his palms together. A vast divine power surged out of his body. Immediately, a dazzling golden light shot up into the sky. A huge golden will seal followed him as he advanced forward. When he pushed out his palms together, the divine will that was condensed from almost half of the divine power in his body flew forward. Buzz. The wheel was not a physical object, but a kind of domain-level power. It tore through the sky, leaving a deep ravine on the plain, and rushed toward Bai Minghuan and the others. Oh no. Bai Minghuan was shocked. It's a spirit wheel, be careful. Spirit wheel was an ability that grotto geniuses had a low chance of understanding after breaking through the 90th level of the immortal state. Even among the top gods, very few could control a spirit wheel. But this kind of power actually appeared in the hands of a boy from the mortal world. It was really unbelievable. Bai Minghuan roared and gathered his divine power to protect himself, but he could only protect a few people behind him. Boom! The spirit wheel raged through, and countless broken limbs flew in the air. Bai Minghuan was also blown back by this blow. His warhorse died, and his blood was boiling. He had already suffered internal injuries. Looking back, he saw that all the people behind him were dead, and there were only a few people left from the group of sacred warriors. Lin Muyu's casual blow had actually killed at least 10 captaincy and 100 kiliarchs of the Tianji Empire. Bastard, kill him! Bai Minghuan roared. The remaining people of the Tianji Empire were also red-eyed. They raised their weapons and rushed toward their opponents. In the blink of an eye, they clashed with the Longdan army camp. Bai Minghuan jumped down from the sky, and the heavenly palm with lightning struck toward Lin Muyu. After activating the spirit wheel, Lin Muyu was definitely not at an advantage over Bai Minghuan. He had already used up half of his divine power, while Bai Minghuan had only suffered minor internal injuries. Let me! Situ-san let out a low roar as he swung his sword, bringing with it a chilling force. It was the icy jade snow of the star arts. Boom! Blood flew out. Situ-san couldn't take this blow at all, and was pushed back while vomiting blood. Wei Chou quickly rode his horse to catch Situ-san and said, "Protect General Sun." Lin Muyu flew up from the warhorse, and her sword was filled with the power of the purple sun. She slashed at the heavenly palm. Boom! The raging flames caused many cavalrymen to retreat. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, was shaken by the Tianyu palm to the point that her mind was in chaos. Her figure fell rapidly, but she still landed on the back of Treading Snow's horse and urged it to gallop. "You want to leave?" Bai Minghuan stood in the air, and a longbow appeared in his hand. "Everyone, charge forward. Don't stop," Lin Muyu ordered loudly. If the 30,000 soldiers of the Longdan army camp stayed here, it would only ruin their plan. When the demon army in the Luo River estuary was killed, the Longdan army camp would also be wiped out. Clang! With the sound of the bowstring, a sharp arrow fell from the sky and shot into Lin Muyu's chest without any warning. This was an arrow shot by Bai Minghuan, who was an emperor god. The arrowhead came out of the chest, and with blood, it was pitch black. It was the demon heart arrow. Feeling weak, Lin Muyu almost fell off her horse. The divine power inside her began to clog up, and she could no longer gather divine power in her ocean of energy. Chapter 851. Protect His Highness. Wei Chou swung his sword and charged forward, and a group of Longdan army camp soldiers behind him threw their spears at him. "You're courting death." Bai Minghuan's killing intent surged, and a powerful palm power exploded in the square formation of the Longdan army camp. Immediately, dozens of soldiers were smashed into pieces. The Heaven Scarlet Palm was very powerful, and Bai Minghuan had cultivated it for many years. It was not something ordinary martial arts could compare to. "Lin Muyu, don't even think about escaping." Bai Minghuan came over on the wind, as fast as lightning. The domain power of an emperor god expert pressed down, causing the surrounding soldiers of the brave dragon camp to be unable to move. Even their warhorses were neighing non-stop. Many of them had stopped moving forward. Under the shroud of the domain, the space was like a quagmire that people couldn't extricate themselves from. It was extremely difficult to even move an inch closer. Bastard! Wei Chou turned back and put an arrow on his bow. A blood-red ghost god power poured into the arrow, and with a clang, the arrow left the bowstring, going straight for Bai Minghuan's neck. Bai Minghuan suddenly stopped his body. The arrow hit the earth gang wall in front of his neck and shattered, but it also shook the earth gang wall and created a crack. The white diamond arrow with the power of the ghost god was very sharp, and each of Wei Chou's arrows was very accurate. If he kept aiming at the crack, it would be hard to guarantee that he wouldn't fail. Bai Minghuan had always been a calm person, so he naturally wouldn't take the risk to keep chasing. If he died in the hands of a Saint Sky Realm kid, it wouldn't be worth it. There were more and more soldiers in the Longdan army camp, holding their swords and sabers, fearlessly charging at Bai Minghuan. They were using their lives to protect Lin Muyu, Wei Chou, and the others as they passed through the Luo River estuary. The thunder light of the scarlet palm shot up into the sky, and Bai Minghuan fell into the slaughter again. Blood mist flew everywhere, and almost all the soldiers in the Longdan army camp who were hit by the palm exploded and died. Lin Muyu didn't even look back as he charged forward. The fact that he couldn't gather supreme god force didn't seem to affect him at all. With a slight shake of his arms, streams of King's battle flames surged into his arms, and he continued to fight with his Saint Heaven Realm cultivation. The screams of the Longdan army camp soldiers behind him pierced his heart like iron needles, but he had no choice but to keep moving. No matter how powerful Bai Minghuan was, he was only one man. How many people could he kill? Besides, the attacks from the soldiers in the Longdan army camp would also consume his divine power. After killing 100 or 1,000 people, Bai Minghuan would run out of his divine power. When the cavalry charged into the Luo River estuary, they could see a chaotic battle from afar. Tens of thousands of demon soldiers were surrounded in the center of the Luo River estuary. They could even see the figure of Tang Xiaoxi wielding her sword in the midst of the crowd. Xiaoxi is over there, Lin Muyu's heart trembled. He raised his ice origin sword and shouted, "Charge with me." Sounds of killing rose everywhere. Situ Sen, Wei Chou, Fengxi, Situ Shui, and the others led their troops and charged forward. About 50 meters away, they fired a round of magic crystal crossbows, which were the last batch of magic crystal crossbows in the hands of the people in the Longdan army camp. When the magic crystals shone in the crowd of tiger leopard cavalry, wolf cavalry, and other beast cavalry, they all turned around and saw the flag of the Longdan army camp swaying in the wind. In the center of the battle formation, a group of fox cavalry also looked out and said happily, "Your Highness, it's the Longdan army camp. His Highness King Qin is here to help us." Tang Xiaoxi's red robe was stained with blood, and her face was a bit pale. After fighting for half a day, she had almost used up all her divine power. At this moment, she no longer used the fire fox seal. Instead, she used her warrior qi to control the sharp sword to kill the enemies. She waved her sword slightly and pointed it to the north. She smiled and said, "Break through the encirclement and meet up with His Highness King Qin." Yes. The war drums thundered once more. The arrival of the brave dragon battalion was undoubtedly a reassuring blow to the demon race army. Everyone roared and charged north, fighting the tiger leopard cavalry with blood for blood. The demon race's strength was far inferior to the tiger leopard cavalry, but the exchange of 2 for 1, or even 3 for 1, caused the tiger leopard cavalry's expressions to change greatly. In the sky, a red light flashed past. It was Ouyang Yen. She finally made her move. Whoosh! Flames exploded among the tiger leopard cavalry. A tiger leopard cavalry member, Captaincy, did not even have time to react before he was burned to ashes along with his mount. Ouyang Yen was well aware of this principle. With the death of the 10,000-man commander, the formation of the tiger leopard cavalry immediately began to fall into chaos. Originally, they had been charging forward unwaveringly, like an impenetrable fortress. But now that the guardian was gone, they began to loosen up. "Ouyang Yen, help us break through the encirclement," Tang Xiaoxi said loudly, but her voice was weak. She had used up too much of her strength. "Don't worry, Your Highness Shi." Ouyang Yen smiled and said, "We still have 4 good assistants to help us." "Oh. Be careful of the dragon riders in the sky." "Yes." There were still at least 30 members of the Tianji Empire's dragon riders circling in the sky. However, they had been fighting all this time and had lost more than half of their strength, so they were not much of a threat. "The air is here. Help us." A voice exploded in the air like thunder. It was Jing Jian's voice. His temper had always been like this, but his strength was also very vigorous. With 2 swooshes, 2 terrifying fists of fire bloomed in the air, and actually blasted the 2 dragon knights down to the foot of the mountain in the distance like bats. Buzz! Ice swirled, and the divine power of the ice palm that fell from the sky blasted a sacred warrior-level dragon rider down with his dragon. By the time he landed on the ground, both the dragon and the man were already covered in ice and had lost the ability to fight. "Tie him up," Tang Xiaoxi said loudly. Immediately, a group of demon soldiers jumped off their horses and tied him up tightly. Capturing a dragon rider alive was still very good for the Qin Empire. At least they could understand the secrets of the dragon riders more clearly. Outside the valley, there came the hurried battle drums. That was another order from the Tianji Empire, ordering all the soldiers to fight bravely and retreat from the Luo River estuary. Bai Minghuan was already scared and did not dare to continue fighting in the Luo River estuary. Otherwise, his hundreds of thousands of soldiers would all be killed in one day. In the chaos, the Ice Origin sword sent out streams of fighting flame into the enemy's body. Lin Muyu did not even have time to pull out the arrow in his chest, nor did he have time to heal himself. He kept waving his sword, and at the same time, more and more wounds appeared on his body. He was wearing the white imperial robe, so he naturally became the target of everyone. All the soldiers of the Tianji Empire knew that this man was a high official, and that there would be a great reward for killing him. However, this man was very powerful, and no one was that lucky. Those who had tried to cut off Lin Muyu's head had basically lost their own heads. Charge forward. Don't stop. Join the demon army and then counterattack, Lin Muyu ordered loudly. Suddenly, a man roared and charged over. It was a wolf rider, captaincy. The battle axe in his hand contained the power to split mountains, and he chopped at Lin Muyu's shoulder. Bang! The battle axe shook the battle armor and instantly broke it, but there was still a layer of dark energy on the wall of the gourd. He was a little startled, and then said with a fierce face, "You still have to die." A cold power came from the battle axe. Immediately, Lin Muyu cursed inwardly. She had underestimated this man. That's right, this wolf rider captain actually pretended to be weak and used his dou qi to attack. However, when the battle axe was completely pressed against Lin Muyu's body, strands of frost divine power surged out. This was actually a deity-level expert. Pooh! White-robed Yulin's shoulder armor instantly shattered, and blood also spurted from Lin Muyu's shoulder. There was no one around to help him, so he could only rely on himself. Without thinking, he raised his left hand and grabbed the handle of the battle axe to stop it from falling. His right hand let go of the Ice Origin sword, and he grabbed the arrowhead protruding from his chest and snapped it. He forcefully smashed it into Captaincy's neck. The demonic heart arrow instantly removed his divine power, and the Ice Origin sword spun rapidly under the Imperial sword technique. With a crack, Wolf Rider Captaincy's head flew into the sky. This series of actions was completed in the blink of an eye. Wolf Rider Captaincy would never have thought that this gentle-looking young general's fighting style would be so desperate. However, he didn't blame himself for dying. Lin Muyu had been fighting all these years, and in terms of actual combat experience, she was probably much stronger than this god-level warrior. Protect Her Highness, you bunch of idiots. Situ Sun roared angrily and hurriedly urged his horse forward. He waved his sword and opened up a path for Lin Muyu. Seeing Situ Sun's back, Lin Muyu finally let out a sigh of relief. He threw away the battle axe on his shoulder, and immediately saw a wound that was at least 3 centimeters deep. It was a bloody mess, and he trembled in pain. Moo! Tang Xiaoxi's voice came from afar, but Lin Muyu's consciousness was already a bit hazy. He could only feel his body involuntarily falling, and then landing in a warm embrace. He had been hit by over a dozen arrows, and the one on his chest was the most fatal. Fortunately, it hadn't hit his heart, and the axe strike on his shoulder made his injuries even worse. Blood soaked through his armor, and he looked extremely frightening. Tang Xiaoxi instantly started crying when she saw his frightening appearance. Everyone in the empire knew that Lin Muyu's strength was extraordinary, and his intelligence was outstanding. However, no one knew that he was just a person like everyone else, and not an invincible god like in the legends. Protect the descendant. The sound of ice palms and fire fists came from the sky, followed by an angry roar. A huge figure rushed into the crowd of tiger-leopard cavalry and wreaked havoc. It was the Beeman King. Very soon, an elegant figure floated down. It was the spiritual scholar, Su Hao. He was also shocked when he saw Lin Muyu's appearance. How is the descendant? Healing medicine, quick, healing medicine. Tang Xiaoxi shouted. She knelt in a pool of blood and decided to bandage and heal Lin Muyu's injuries on the battlefield. His injuries couldn't be delayed, or else there would be many internal injuries left, which would affect his future cultivation. Use mine. The spiritual scholar quickly took out a purple bottle and said, "This is the best medicine for muscle regeneration and hemostasis." Princess Shi, there's no need to hesitate, quickly heal the descendant's injuries. N. Tang Xiaoxi gritted her teeth and pulled out the arrows in Lin Muyu's body one by one. As she pulled them out, her tears kept falling. Chapter 852. When Lin Muyu opened her eyes, her surroundings were still in chaos. Dust filled the air, and the sound of hooves shook the entire Luo River estuary. However, it was already close to dusk, which proved that the battle had lasted for an entire day. The surroundings were filled with blood and the burnt smell of the magic crystal cannons. From afar, the purple Yinhua flag fluttered amidst the smoke. There were also the flags of the nation-guarding army, the Longdan army camp, the Imperial Army, and the Divine Might Battalion. It was clear that the Empire had won this battle. Xiao Shi. He raised his head to look at Tang Xiaoxi and found that his head was resting on her snow-white legs. His body was shaking slightly. The two of them were in the chariot, and the person driving the horse was Wei Chou. Only he and Tang Xiaoxi had the face to drive the horse. "You're awake?" Tang Xiaoxi smiled. Great, I remember seeing Su Hao. This subordinate is here, successor." Su Hao floated down. He had been flying in the air to protect Lin Muyu. "You're finally here." Lin Muyu used the spirit pulse technique to see that Su Hao had already stepped into the God King realm. She smiled. "Not bad. Even you, Su Hao, have stepped into the 30th heaven realm." Su Hao smiled. "In order to protect the Heavenly Tome Monolith Forest, we hid our identities in the White Leaves Forest and purposely did not ascend. After 10,000 years of preparation, we naturally succeeded. Successor, how's your body?" "I'm fine." Lin Muyu moved her arm. She felt that the sovereign matrix in her EC was madly absorbing the surrounding spiritual energy to replenish her divine power. Her Qi C was also surging with divine power. This was good news. The temporary loss of divine power caused by the demon heart arrow had passed. "How are you now?" He raised his head, but all he could see were two peaks wrapped in clouds. After Tang Xiaoxi had stepped into the God King realm, her figure had become even better. Lin Muyu said, "Xiao Shi, you're blocking my view, ah." Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. She suddenly realized what he was referring to, and her pretty face instantly flushed red. She said, "Scoundrel, you've just woken up and you're already making fun of me." "I didn't, it's true." "Help me up, I want to see the battlefield." "Are you really okay? How about I help you fly and look down at the battlefield?" That's even better." Thus, Tang Xiaoxi supported Lin Muyu's arm and let his right arm wrap around her neck. Then, she activated her divine power and slowly flew up, bringing Lin Muyu into the air. They felt the night breeze. The weather in Lingdong province was not considered mild. The night breeze was like a storm, causing their cloaks to flutter. Inside the battlefield, there were clouds of smoke and corpses everywhere. Near the steel wall, corpses were piled up like mountains. Almost every pile of corpses contained at least 1,000 people. There were dozens of such piles of corpses. Together with the corpses in the Luo River estuary that had not been cleaned up, the number of people who died in this battle was definitely more than 200,000. In the distance, in the north of the Luo River estuary, in the territory of Tongtian province, the sound of killing was still echoing on the ground. Rows of Qin Empire's cavalry were chasing the defeated troops of Tianji Empire. Their banners were fluttering all over the mountains and plains. Something's wrong. Lin Muyu furrowed her brows. What's wrong? Tang Xiaoxi asked. Gong Shangming is cautious in using his troops. He shouldn't have been so unprepared after such a setback. Even if the Longdan army camp burned their provisions, they shouldn't have been so defeated, right? They retreated in an orderly manner. This is the combat quality that a commander should have. Even if the Tianji Empire suffered heavy losses, it shouldn't be so miserable, right? You mean, it's a trap? Yes. Who was the one who commanded the Tianji Empire to attack the steel wall before? After Gong Shangming lost the first battle, Bai Minghuan changed his general at the last minute and ordered Zhou Xinyao to command today's battle. Now it seems that Zhou Xinyao's position as the chief strategist will be lost. Zhou Xinyao? Lin Muyu frowned and said, I've seen this man in Winter Frost City. He is courageous, but he shows off his abilities. He should be the kind of person who is resourceful but not good at scheming. Bai Minghuan must be blind to command this battle with Zhou Xinyao. Tang Xiaoxi chuckled and said, otherwise, I'm afraid the steel wall would no longer belong to the Qin Empire. Yes. Lin Muyu raised her eyebrows and looked at the ground. She said, Wei Chou, immediately send out a letter and order the troops who have chased to the north to withdraw immediately. Don't chase a desperate enemy. Yes, Your Highness. I hope it's not too late. Mu, are you so sure that Gong Shangming will set up an ambush in the north? I'm not sure, but there's at least a 50% chance that he will. Lin Muyu smiled lightly and said, war is a kind of game. How can you be sure? You can only guess what the opponent is thinking. If you can always guess correctly, then you're a famous general. Tang Xiaoxi giggled and said, you're right. Su Hao said respectfully, successor, your injuries have not healed yet. Why don't we go back to the steel wall and rest well? Miss Chu Yao's medical skills are superb, and she can diagnose and treat your injuries again. Yes. Lin Muyu nodded. The war in the north was not something he could control anymore. The only thing he could do now was to wait for the situation to develop. Wei Chou and the 10,000 soldiers of the Longdan army camp were left to wait outside the Luo River estuary. The others all went back to the steel wall to rest. No one knew when the next battle would be. Late at night, news kept coming. The troops under Feng Jixing, Zhen Yifan, Zhen Feng and Su Er had all returned one after another. Only the 30,000 imperial guards led by Zhang Wei had not returned. It was not until late at night that Zhang Wei returned. He was covered in blood and knelt down the moment he entered the meeting hall. What's wrong? Feng Jixing said lightly, didn't I tell you to withdraw immediately after sunset? Zhang Wei's face was pale and his whole body was trembling. Old Zhang, tell me clearly. How many troops did we lose? Lin Muyu asked. Only, less than 5,000 came back. What? Feng Jixing was infuriated. He slammed the table and stood up, bellowing furiously, men, drag this useless Zhang Wei out and behead him. Zhang Wei wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth. Tears flowed from his eyes as he cried out, Zhang Wei, am convinced that your highness has beheaded me. I'm willing to die to pay for the lives of over 20,000 brothers. It's just that we were ambushed in the green-yellow forest and our brothers died too tragically. Zhang Wei only hopes that after I die, His Highness you and Prince Xian can lead the 3 armies to avenge my 20,000 brothers who died in vain, recover our lost land, and take back the Heavenspan province from the hands of the bandits, drag him out and behead him. Feng Jixing was really infuriated. He was so angry that his whole body was trembling. How many resources were needed to nurture 25,000 imperial guards? Wait a minute. Lin Muyu said softly, Brother Feng, don't be angry first. Wait for me to find out the reason. Wei Chou, speak. Wei Chou knelt down on one knee and said, Your Highness, when I led 10,000 brothers from the Longdan army camp to provide support, I saw the green-yellow forest in flames. The Tianji Empire burned the entire green-yellow forest, and many of our brothers from the Imperial Guards were burned alive. However, Lord Zhang Wei led the troops to charge back and forth and fought valiantly. Without his command, we probably wouldn't have been able to break out of the encirclement. Moreover, the 25,000 Imperial Guards didn't die in vain. Before they died, they fought bravely and killed at least over 10,000 bandits. Is that so, Zhang Wei? Zhang Wei? Lin Muyu asked. Yes. Zhang Wei gritted his teeth and said, but I don't beg for your highness you to forgive me. Zhang Wei only wishes for death. I don't have the face to continue living in this world. Fine, drag him out and behead him, Feng Jixing said angrily. Brother Feng. Lin Muyu interceded, the Imperial Guards were almost wiped out in this battle, and there's a need to recruit new soldiers and reorganize them. This won't do if there's no one to train new soldiers for you. Why don't we let Zhang Wei make up for his mistakes with his meritorious deeds? Strip him of his position and just give him the position of a 10-man squad leader. After we recruit new soldiers, we'll let him train them. If he can't train the new soldiers well, it'll be too late to behead him then. After saying that, Lin Muyu threw a glance. Immediately, Wei Chou, Situ Sen, Luo Yu, Fengxi, Zhen Fang, and the other generals all knelt down and said loudly, Your Highness, please forgive Zhang Wei. Qin Yan also said, That's right. Your Highness, please forgive him this time. After all, Zhang Wei has also killed quite a number of bandits. After suffering such losses, the strength of the Tianji Empire's bandits will be greatly reduced, and they won't be able to continue attacking the steel protective wall. Humph. Feng Jixing's countenance was grim as he said calmly, he can be spared from death, but he can't escape punishment. Men, send Zhang Wei to prison. Lock him up for 3 days and 3 nights. Don't even allow him to eat or drink. Yes. In fact, Feng Jixing could not bear to kill Zhang Wei either. This time around, if it wasn't for the fact that he had given Zhang Wei the authority to lead the troops due to his lack of consideration, they wouldn't have suffered such a defeat. However, the Imperial Guards had suffered a crushing defeat in the battle with the Flowing Mist Army, and the soldiers' deaths weren't in vain. The entire meeting hall fell silent. Not long later, someone from the Ministry of War's Minister Manor came. It was a young assistant minister who held a scroll of paper in his hand. He said, Your Highnesses, the statistics are out. Speak, the overall report, Lin Muyu said. Yes. He opened up the scroll and said respectfully, This time, there were a total of 370,000 soldiers from the Spirit Demon Army, Longdan Army Camp, Imperial Guards, Zither Dragon Army, God Might Battalion, and Prefectural Garrison Army. There were a total of 370,000 soldiers that participated in the battle. There were 134,000 soldiers that died, 76,000 were heavily injured, and over 30% of them were permanently unable to participate in the battle. There were 110,000 soldiers that suffered light injuries, and the losses of our resources were severe. We still have 30,000 magic crystal cannons, but there are less than 8,000 usable magic crystal crossbows. Other than that, we have calculated the losses of the enemy based on the battlefield. Oh. Feng Jixing was startled, Speak. On the battlefield, we collected a total of 63,542 corpses. The number of corpses that were destroyed by the magic crystal cannons and magic crystal crossbows numbered around 20,000. Adding on the corpses that were found after entering the northern region, we estimate that to be around 50,000 corpses. Thus, we have killed a total of 130,000 soldiers. 130,000? Feng Jixing could not help but laugh bitterly. I initially thought that it would be a huge victory, but who knew that? It was only about the same. At least, they will not be able to spy on Lingdong province for a short period of time. That's true. At this moment, a messenger suddenly rushed in from outside the residence and said anxiously, A message from 8 Wastelands says that 8 Wastelands has fallen. The Tianji Empire's 150,000 Long Ji army seized all the territories in 8 Wastelands overnight. Their military strength is already approaching the northern fortress of Yunzhong province. What? Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing stood up together, their faces were filled with disbelief. Chapter 853. At the north ridge of Yanming Mountain, the bright moon hung high in the sky, spreading a layer of white frost on the ground. At the foot of the mountain, torches gathered in a long line. The faint sound of horses' hooves and the roar of machines could be heard. It was an army of no less than 10,000 people. Above a red maple on the mountain ridge, a beautiful girl quietly looked at everything at the foot of the mountain. A trace of displeasure and anger flashed in her eyes. That's Xian's army. Luo Fei sneered and said, she really brought a 10,000-strong army to the Shattered Cauldron realm. Humph. Does Xian really think that she can accomplish anything by relying on those filthy exiles and old machines? Dory was silent. Dora frowned. I just want to know what Xian wants to do. The Lord Ruler sent us to help the Celestial Pole continent seize the territory of the Shattered Cauldron realm, but she brought 10,000 banished lands army and hasn't done anything yet. Now, she's sent this army to Yanming Mountain. What does she want to do? Who is her opponent? Luo Fei said, Dora, maybe Xian doesn't want to return to the God realm at all. She just wants to be a king in the mortal world, just like she did in the banished lands. She used the Lord Ruler and used his hand to raise her cultivation. Then, she came to the rich Shattered Cauldron realm. She wants to be a king in the mortal world. Really? Dora sneered. I don't think so. At this moment, the sound of huge dragons' flapping wings came from afar. Dragon knights had arrived, and two of them came one after the other. It's Ram Jean, Luo Fei said. Ram Jean was a dragon knight that Dora had borrowed from Dark North Abyss. She hadn't used him yet. It's not just Ram Jean. Dora's senses were even sharper. She squinted her beautiful eyes and said, there's an unfamiliar aura. Strangers are here. Indeed, in the night, two dragon knights jumped down from the dragon's back, floated to the ground, and knelt respectfully. Apart from Ram Jean, there was also a dragon knight in blue armor. He seemed to be around the 10th level Grotto Heaven realm, not too strong. Subordinate Ram Jean greets Lord Dora. Subordinate Lu Pei greets Lord Dora. Dora smiled faintly. No need for formalities. Lu Pei, where did you come from? I've traveled day and night from the 8 wastelands in the north under the command of Lord Dragon Rider General Lin Tongtian and Commander Fong Lan of the Long Ji Corps. The Long Ji Corps has gathered 150,000 soldiers and seized the 8 wastelands. The 8 wastelands province that the Qin Empire has just divided is already under the control of the Tianji Empire. This time, the two lords have sent me to invite Lord Dora to fight the enemy side by side with us and attack the Cloud Province together. Cloud Province? Dora was stunned. Yes. Lu Pei said in a low voice, the Yunzhong province of the Qin Empire is very fertile. It is known as one of the 2 largest provinces in the northern region of the empire. It has a large population and many cities. However, the garrison is also very powerful. Luo Xian, the adopted son of the former Duke of Muyun, Su Muyun, is leading 200,000 steel blade soldiers to defend the province. They have a lot of magic crystal cannons and all kinds of advanced crossbows and ballistae. Lord Fong Lan said that if we want to fight a tough battle, we still need the strength of the battle angels of the celestial realm. Okay, I got it. Dora, are you really going to attack the Yunzhong province? Luo Fei was stunned. What else? Dora laughed coldly. Are we going to stay on Yanming Mountain and watch Xian do nothing? Since Xian no longer recognizes the 3 of us as members of the Battle Angel Squad, then we will continue to complete the mission that the Western Divine Realm has given us. Helping the Tianji Empire conquer the Yunzhong province is also our duty. Yes, I understand. Lu Pei was overjoyed. Lord Dora has decided to help us? Of course. Dora smiled. Lord Gong Yangjin, gather all the dragon knights immediately. We will set off immediately. The sooner we conquer the Yunzhong province, the better. We will fly through the night and try to reach the Yunzhong province by dawn tomorrow. Yes. Dora floated in the wind. Her beautiful eyes looked toward the south mountains of Yanming Mountain. Her eyes were filled with jealousy and anger. She said softly, Xin, since you are so desperate to protect everything in the Shattered Cauldron realm, then I will help you. If I don't kill a few of the Qin Empire's famous generals, how can I be worthy of you, the golden-winged battle angel who was in the same class as me? As she spoke, the black wings behind her suddenly spread open. They were filled with murderous intent. After receiving the inheritance of the black wings, the desire to kill in Dora's heart seemed to have been completely ignited. Killing could make her stronger, and it could also make her feel satisfied. On a small path in the forest, torches connected together, illuminating the armors of the soldiers. At the forefront of the cavalry was a general dressed in a golden robe. It was none other than Ding Shi, the person appointed by Xin to be the commander of the army of the exiles. Looking at everything around him, it was familiar yet strange. Along the way, they saw nothing but carnage and devastation. The once prosperous and powerful Sky Province no longer existed. All they could see were broken fences and dilapidated walls, as well as commoners who had lost their homes along the way. There were even many hunting squads from the Blackstone Empire hunting down commoners everywhere and turning them into slaves. The Blackstone Empire was known for its cruelty and tyranny. Their army had a tradition that the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire did not have: cannibalism. Whenever there was a food crisis, the Blackstone Empire's army would kill the captives and use them as food. This tradition had been going on for thousands of years and had not changed at all. In the distance, the army of exiles passed by a forest, and the army of the Darkstone Empire was cooking there. The food was actually some hunters that they'd just captured, and after they killed them, they placed their limbs on the campfire to roast. The soldiers' laughter was extremely delighted, as if they were celebrating a festival. However, these soldiers from the Blackstone Empire did not make things difficult for Ding Shi and the others. After all, they were holding the flag of the Battle Angel Squad and had the token of the Tianji Empire. At least for now, the Tianji Empire and the Blackstone Empire were allies. Cough, cough, cough. Ding Shi coughed violently. He could not bear to look at everything in the forest. Back then, this land belonged to the Iha Kingdom, and these commoners were the people of the Iha Kingdom. Ding Shi could not bear to see them suffer such a calamity, but he was powerless. If it were not for the repeated defeats, how could the commoners have fallen to such a state? Thinking of this, Ding Shi could not help but feel bitter in his heart. He muttered, Commander Long, oh, Commander Long, if it weren't for our incompetence, how could the commoners have suffered such a calamity? At the side, Ding Senging said softly, Commander Ding, don't blame yourself. Everything is in the past. Now that we are following Lord Xin from the Battle Angel Squad, we should not be bullied anymore. Do you only think about not being bullied? Ding Shi said indifferently, Senging, do you think? Is Xin really Her Highness Yin? Is it important whether she is or not? Ding Senging said. No, it is too important. A glint flashed in Ding Shi's eyes as he said, Commander Qin Yi has already abandoned us. Now, it is Lord Xin who has saved Dragon-Shaped Island and the millions of people on Dragon-Shaped Island. If she is really Qin Yin, then she is the return of the king and the rightful successor of the great Qin Empire. Only with the return of Qin Yin can the people of the Shattered Cauldron realm unite as one and get rid of the Eastern barbarians. If this cannot be done, I'm afraid that the Shattered Cauldron realm will really become a land of slavery for others. If the Blackstone Empire is like this, then how can the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Empire be any better? This is a catastrophe for the common people. Ding Senging smiled and said, Marshal, don't think so much. Lord Xin doesn't even admit that she is Qin Yin. Perhaps she is not. After all, Qin Yin is the ruler of the great Qin Empire. As for Xin, look, Xin's weapon of battle is a pair of eyes that belong to a god and not the orthodox god-binding chains of the great Qin Empire. Isn't that right? Yes, Xin can't condense the god-binding chains. Perhaps she really is not. Ding Shi looked at the road under the horse's hooves with some disappointment. I wonder why Lord Xin called us to the Shattered Cauldron realm this time. Is it for war? The Banished One Legion is used to conquer, so naturally, it's for war. Otherwise, would we be here for sightseeing? I heard that the Blackstone Empire's main force was defeated by Su Jiantao in Sangnan province with 50,000 troops. Hee hee. I really didn't expect Governor Sangnan Su Jiantao to have this kind of ability. I didn't see it when our Ihan nation was fighting the Empire. Su Jiantao has followed Lin Muyu for a long time, so he naturally learned a lot about the art of war. Ding Shi's eyes lit up. With Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing around, perhaps great things can be expected. However, the two of them are not members of the Qin family, so the feudal vassals can't be loyal to them. The three kings have ruled for so many years, but they are not as united as the Radiant King. And the Radiant King? If it wasn't for Qin Jin's stubbornness, he probably wouldn't have been killed by the commander-in-chief at Fairy Lake. Ha, Ding Shi laughed self-deprecatingly. Now that you mention it, I feel that I have done so many things all these years. Am I really suspected of being an accomplice to a villain? Ah. Ding San was even more startled. Marshal, why do you say that? Could it be that, when the commander-in-chief killed Qin Jin, wasn't it to rid the world of evil? Is that so? Ding Shi's lips curled into a meaningful smile as he said, a throne has caused 10 years of strife, 10 years of calamity for all living beings in the world. If this is considered to be getting rid of evil for the people, forget it. He paused, then continued, let's not talk about this. You and I stayed on Dragon-Shaped Island to protect the commander-in-chief, so we can be considered people who have died once. Now that we have repaid the commander-in-chief's kindness, we should be in control of our own lives from now on. As he spoke, Ding Shi looked at the iron pipe in the hand of a leader-level exile and asked, Brother, what's the name of that weapon in your hand? The leader bared his yellow teeth and smiled. It's a magnetic cannon, but the battery is about to run out. After that, I won't be able to use it again. Otherwise, I would definitely show the commander-in-chief how powerful this fellow is. Even the sour rotting boars in the banished lands can be blown to pieces with one shot. Ding Shi's face twitched. Then it's better not to see it. Order the army to speed up and head to Yanming Mountain as soon as possible. Yes. Chapter 854. In the South Ridge camp of Yanming Mountain, the white tent trembled gently in the evening wind. Lord Xin, Commander Ding Shi is here. Outside, a guard said in a low voice. It was warm and cozy inside the tent. Xi'an sat quietly at the table as the candlelight flickered, illuminating a parchment map on the table. The map was a detailed map of the major provinces of Lingnan. Let him come in. Yes. The curtain door was lifted. Ding Shi came in with Ding Sengeng and two other lord-level exiles. He knelt down respectfully and performed the etiquette of the Qin Empire. He said, General Ding Shi greets Lord Xin. No need to be so polite. Get up and take a seat. Yes. After Ding Shi sat down, he glanced around and found that Terralin, Lake, Zhou Shimin, and the other battle angels were also there. It seemed like these angels didn't sleep or rest in the middle of the night. Furthermore, this group of battle angels were very young. The combination of handsome men and beautiful women really didn't fit in with the group of ugly exiles and battle-hardened soldiers that he was leading. I have brought the 10,000 exiles and 10,000 original troops of the Tianji Empire. In addition, I have also reorganized and expanded 5,000 original elite soldiers of the dragon-shaped island. They are at Lord Xin's command at any time. Commander, you have worked hard. Xin smiled slightly. In the future, there is no need to be so troublesome. Please reorganize this army and directly name it the Xin Army. Yes, I will. Commander Ding Shi, come forward and look at the map. Yes. Ding Shi knelt forward and glanced at the map with the candlelight. He knew that it was the map of Lingnan. Then he almost didn't need to look at anything. He had been the marshal of Iha country for 10 years and had long known the terrain of Lingnan. He even exaggerated to the point that he knew every grass, every tree, every mountain, and every river. This was his home and once his world. Commander, you only need to take a look. Sheen closed his eyes and asked in surprise. Ding Shi smiled. No need. I can draw this map by hand. That's good. Sheen said, the Darkstone Empire's Fuyu led the Ashen Flame army to be defeated in Dark South Province, and they've already rested for many days. Now, they're accumulating strength and waiting to attack. I presume Fuyu is definitely unwilling to accept this defeat. Commander, where do you think he'll attack next? Ding Shi pondered for a moment and smiled. The Qin Mountains are very sturdy and controlled by the Qin Empire. It will be difficult for Fuyu to gain any advantage there. As long as Fuyu and Marshal Bailey Qin are not stupid, they will definitely choose another route of attack. There are 2 roads to the west of Lingnan Province. One is the road to Lingnan Province, but they must pass through the Dragon-Slaying Pass on the Baimang Mountain. This Dragon-Slaying Pass is very sturdy. I have already sent people to investigate and found out that it is currently guarded by Su Jiantao and 70,000 soldiers. The other road to the west is the official road to Mingshan Province, but they also need to pass through a pass on the Baimang Mountain. This pass is called the Divine Heaven Pass and is guarded by the Mingshan Province's army. Currently, the army of Mingshan Province is guarded by Xiangyu, the descendant of Xiang Wendian. If I am not wrong, Fu will choose to attack the Divine Heaven Pass and fight it out with Xiangyu. Why? Because Fu Yu is already very afraid of Su Jiantao. He suffered a huge defeat in the hands of Su Jiantao. As the saying goes, once bitten, twice shy. However, Fu Yu does not know of Xiang Yu's prowess, so he will definitely attack the Divine Heaven Pass that Xiang Yu is guarding. Yes. Sheen smiled. Commander is indeed perceptive, worthy of being a famous general. You are too kind, Lord. I am just a defeated general. Ding Shi was silent for a few seconds before he asked, Lord Sheen, you have asked me so many questions. What is your plan? Also, you have ordered the 25,000 soldiers of the Sheen Corps to be gathered at the Yanming Mountain. What are your intentions? Lord Commander must have witnessed the brutality of the Blackstone Empire's army. Yes. Sheen smiled and said, the ruler ordered me to help the Celestial Pole continent seize the Shattered Cauldron Realm, but not in this way. The Shattered Cauldron Realm will also be a citizen of the Celestial Pole continent in the future. I must stop the Blackstone Empire from continuing their slaughter. Therefore, I have decided that instead of letting Fu Yu seize the city, it is better for us to seize the city ourselves. We will rely on the Sheen Corps to attack the Divine Heaven Pass before Fu Yu, then we will march straight in and conquer the entire Mingshan province. Along the way, we must not offend the people. With the Mingshan province in our hands, we will not have to suffer the brutality of the Blackstone Empire. Ding Shi's eyes completely lit up. Really? Yes, I will not lie to you. Yes. Ding Shi took a step back and knelt on one knee. He put his fists on the ground and said, as long as Lord Sheen gives the order, I will go through fire and water without hesitation. I have no other requests. Commander Ding Shi, you will command this battle. All the troops, battle angels, including me, will listen to your orders. The only thing I want you to do is to seize the Divine Heaven Pass at the lowest cost. Yes, I understand. The next day, the war drums rumbled. The 20,000 soldiers of the Sheen Corps left the Yanming Mountain and went straight to the Divine Heaven Pass. In the afternoon, the cavalry had already set up camp 5 miles away from the Divine Heaven Pass. In the evening, the 25,000 soldiers had already gathered. Banners fluttered in the air as if the entire mountain was filled with the Sheen Corps. Ding Sengeng and the other generals bought food from all over the place. However, they couldn't last too long, or else they would be defeated. After nightfall, the forest was quiet. A few figures appeared on the low slope. They were Ding Shi, Xin, Terrelin, and the others. "Lord, please take a look." Ding Shi pointed at the pass in the distance and said, "The Divine Heaven Pass is very sturdy. It is made of huge rocks from the deep mountains. The wall is 25 meters high, ordinary siege towers and catapults can't reach it. There are 24 watchtowers on the wall, and each watchtower can accommodate 50 archers. If all of them are deployed, I'm afraid it will be a nightmare for us. Lord, as you can see, there are nearly 50 magic crystal cannons on the wall. If all of them are fired, the Xin Corps will become history in at most half a day." Xin didn't open her eyes. She could sense everything with her spirit sense. She just smiled and said, "I saw all of this. But Commander, you are now the commander of the 3 armies. You can make all the decisions. I just want a result." "All right." Ding Shi pondered and said, "I have a feasible method, but I need Lord's cooperation." "Speak." "Lord, please take a look there." Ding Shi pointed to the distance and said, "There is a watchtower at the center of the city. It is 50 meters tall and can see everything in our army. I believe that Xiangyu in the heavenly fortress should already know about our military strength. In another 2 hours, when the sky is completely dark, my lord, please lead 6 members of the Battle Angel team to attack this watchtower. But it is best not to kill anyone, just show the strength of the Battle Angels. The best situation is to see Xiangyu. After my lord shows the power of the flaming eyes to Xiangyu, immediately lead the Battle Angel team back. In this way, I will personally go to the heavenly fortress tomorrow morning. Perhaps we can take down the heavenly fortress without any bloodshed." "Really?" Xin was excited. "There is no joking in the army." "All right, I will listen to you." "Thank you, Lord." After nightfall, countless torches were lit on the heavenly fortress, and even the braziers were lit. Archers stood in great numbers on the walls as if they were facing a great enemy. Everyone knew that an army had arrived, although they still didn't know the origin of this army. "Greetings, Duke Yu." When Xiangyu walked on the wall in his military uniform, a group of soldiers knelt down and saluted. Xiangyu didn't say anything, but his face was ashen. He didn't expect to encounter such a thing after rushing back to Bright Mountain Province. Unfortunately, most of his 70,000 men were still on the way back, and he only brought 5,000 cavalrymen with him. The defense force of the entire Divine Heaven Pass was less than 20,000. "Have you figured out who the enemy is?" Xiangyu asked coldly. "I don't know." A 10,000-man commander said in a trembling voice. It was as though they had descended from the sky. "That flag was also something we've never seen before. According to our military advisor's understanding, there's no such flag in the celestial pole continent. This army does not belong to the 3 empires." "Humph, outrageous." Xiangyu shouted, "Prepare the magic crystal cannons and boulders. Don't let them get close to the wall. No matter who they are, invading our Bright Mountain Province is tantamount to courting death." "Yes." "All archers are to be on the watchtower. No one is to slack off. Otherwise, they will be dealt with according to military law. Follow me to the watchtower and see who these people are. They are actually so arrogant to set up camp 5 miles away." "Yes, Duke Yu." A group of people went up the watchtower. There were also many archers and shield-wielding guards on the watchtower. Xiangyu was one of the 4 dukes of the empire after all. His status was too honorable. Just as everyone stabilized themselves, a sharp-eyed soldier suddenly pointed into the distance. "There seems to be something flying over in the night sky." "What?" Xiangyu squinted his eyes. Someone was indeed coming. No, it should be a god. Waves of god power rippled in the air, making people feel reverence. They didn't come with good intentions. Furthermore, they were extraordinarily strong. Fire arrows. Yes. Countless fire arrows flew into the sky, but they couldn't reach the incoming person. It was already not bad if an ordinary fire arrow could shoot 20 meters high. Under the illumination of the light, a total of 7 figures came over with the wind. They were all wearing strange clothes and didn't look like people from Shattered Cauldron Realm. Be careful. Xiangyu raised the bloodthirsty spear and said, pass down the order, prepare for battle. Aim the muzzles of the magic crystal cannons far away. Immediately blast them to pieces within 300 meters. Yes. In less than 5 seconds, the sound of cannons rang out. Fiery red magic crystal cannons fell into the sky like meteors. However, the people in the sky didn't seem to panic. When the magic crystal cannons flew around, they immediately collided with an invisible barrier. It was a wall of light. In the blink of an eye, all the magic crystal cannons exploded. However, the other party continued to fly forward covered in smoke. Bah! Terrelin grumbled, the explosion ruined my makeup. Lake was speechless, it's already good that they didn't die. Get ready. Zhou Shimin, let's each take one side and cut off the 2 wings of the watchtower. How about it? Yes. The 2 turned into streams of light and flew over. Swoosh swoosh. 2 sword energies fell and directly cut off the 2 wings of the watchtower. That was a fortification built with giant rocks. Bastard, Xiangyu saw it clearly, but he also felt a chill in his heart. The incoming party was many times more tyrannical than he had imagined. Moreover, there were 7 of them at once. What should he do? However, apart from himself, who else here could fight against this group of mysterious experts with wings on their backs? Roar! With a shout, Xiangyu's body burst into flames. The bloodthirsty spear soared into the sky with the majestic power of the Chaos 9 strikes and went straight for Terrelin, who was flying in front of him. Chapter 855. Don't hurt him. Sheen's voice came from the wind. Terrelin smiled and unsheathed the exquisite sword hanging at her waist. Light divine power burst out from the blade and soared into the sky. Holding the sword with both hands, she heavily slashed at Xiangyu's 7th move of the chaotic 9 strikes, Heavenly Reincarnation. Bang! The power of light seemed to transform into a sharp sword and easily cut Xiangyu's fire divine power in half. The disparity in strength was almost not something that could be made up for by any skill. With just 1 strike, Xiangyu's strongest move had been broken. Clang! The blade fell on the spear handle, and a total of 45 waves of divinity hit Xiangyu so hard that he almost vomited blood. He forcefully clenched his teeth and endured it, but his body bounced back to the watchtower like a cannonball. Pa! A shockwave spread out. He had to rely on the ground to neutralize Terrelin's tyrannical attack. Are you alright? The group of generals was dumbfounded. No one expected that Xiangyu, who was known as the descendant of the god of war, could not even take a single blow from his opponent. Xiangyu was also one of the few people in the empire. Xiangyu raised his head and looked at Terrelin in the wind. He never thought that such a young girl would have such power. The light wings behind her gently flapped, as if they were a blessing of power. It was very mysterious. How could he swallow this? After recovering a little, Xiangyu shot out like lightning again. The bloodthirsty spear danced wildly and pierced the sky like a dragon. But at this moment, a voice sounded, Terrelin, retreat. Sheen had arrived. Xiangyu's eyes widened. He saw a familiar figure. Was that Qin Yin? But it didn't seem like it either. A pair of golden wings of light was slowly unfurling behind her. Her eyes were closed, and tiny golden flames danced around her eyelashes. Her eyelids twitched slightly, as if she would open her eyes at any moment. Xiangyu was dumbfounded. However, at this moment, the eyes of the blazing dawn opened. What kind of eyes were they? Even the fiend god eyes paled in comparison. The majesty of the world instantly gathered together, pressing down on Xiangyu and the group of people behind him so hard that they could barely open their eyes and look at them. Many generals had even knelt down one after another, unable to endure this scorching aura and blazing light. The words that Xiangyu wanted to say were forcibly swallowed back. His face was full of shock as he landed on the observation deck. He stood there dumbfounded, unable to say a word. The eyes of Blazing Dawn only opened for a few seconds before closing. Sheen said lightly, "Let's go." A few figures disappeared into the night. That night, the Sheen army did not attack. How is this possible? How is this possible? In the meeting hall of the Divine Heaven Fortress, Xiangyu sat there with a frown, constantly repeating the same words. "Master Yu, what's going on?" A captaincy asked. "Didn't you see her?" "Who are you referring to?" Everyone was stunned. "Empress. It's Her Highness. She has come back to life." Xiangyu was so excited that his whole body was trembling. "That's impossible. Isn't it said that Her Highness is already dead?" A Chiliarch asked cautiously. "No, Her Highness is not dead," Xiangyu said in an indisputable manner. At this moment, another person at the table said, "That's right, Master Yu is right. I saw her just now. She is indeed Her Highness Qin Yin. Her voice and smile are exactly the same as 6 years ago. I have also seen her before and recognize her." The person who spoke was the governor of Yu City, an old official who had once met the Empress. "That's right, Governor Wang is right. She is Her Highness." Xiangyu frowned and said, "What I don't understand is why Her Highness became like this. Did she become an angel of the Western Divine Realm? Also, what's with those soul-stirring eyes?" The governor said, "Master Yu, since Her Highness has reincarnated after death, she must have experienced many things. Now that she is leading tens of thousands of troops to the city, I think she must have something to express. No, prepare a horse. I want to go out and see her." Xiangyu stood up abruptly. "Please don't. Master Yu, you are a priceless person. You still can't confirm that she is Her Highness Yin. What will happen to the Divine Heaven Pass if you go there rashly? Don't worry, since she is here, there will be news tomorrow morning. We just have to wait and see." This. Xiangyu was silent. Captaincy, who was at the side, said, "If Her Highness has really come back to life, this news will be enough to inspire the people of the Empire. Should we immediately send a letter to the 3 princes in the capital?" "No need." Xiangyu said indifferently, "For the time being, there is no confirmed news, so no one can casually spread the news. Besides, I hope that this news will stop here in this meeting hall today. Whoever dares to spread the news, be careful of their heads." A chill permeated the surroundings, and everyone fell silent at the same time. The governor of the city of Yu smiled and didn't say anything. He knew very well that Xiangyu had followed the Empress's orders to go to Bailing's city and use the Iha nation to get rid of Tang Lan, the thorn in her side. Xiangyu had done a lot of work for the Empress, but from another perspective, the person that Qin Yin valued the most was her lover, Lin Muyu. Therefore, this news couldn't be leaked to Lin Muyu first. Before Lin Muyu appeared, Xiangyu had to give her all the credit he could. Otherwise, he would lose the initiative. That night, Xiangyu couldn't sleep. When the rooster crowed, a guard's voice came from outside. "Master Yu, there is an envoy from outside the pass. He claims to be the commander of the Xin Legion, Ding Shi." "Ding Shi?" Xiangyu was stunned. Didn't Ding Shi die on the dragon-shaped island with Long Qianlin? Why is he outside the pass? What is the Xin Legion? Could it be? Xiangyu's thoughts were in a mess, and he stopped thinking about it. After putting on his cloak, he said, "Men, prepare a horse. I will personally go out to welcome Ding Shi." Yes. Early in the morning, the fog pervaded the city pass. Xiangyu led many cavalrymen out of the fog and went out of the city through the iron gate under the pass. Sure enough, there was one person standing in the thick fog outside the city, and only one person. Who else could it be but Ding Shi? It is indeed Marshal Ding Shi. Xiangyu cupped his fists and smiled. It has been a long time. I wonder whose envoy Marshal Ding Shi is now. Back then, Marshal Ding was the captaincy of my empire's swift white province garrison. Later, he followed Qin Yi, but now he is the commander of some Xin legion. TSK, the marshal wears 3 surnames on his head. How admirable. Ding Shi's expression was calm, as if he couldn't hear Xiang Yu's sarcasm. Does General Xiang Yu still remember the golden-eyed woman from last night? She is called Xin, and the army under her command is called the Xin Legion. Now, I am the commander of the Xin Legion, serving Lord Xin. Are you satisfied with this answer? What? She is Xin? Xiang Yu came to a realization and frowned. Ding Shi, what do you mean? What do I mean? Ding Shi sneered. Didn't General Xiang Yu just laugh at me for being a slave with 3 surnames? I, Ding Shi, do not acknowledge such words. From beginning to end, I am only loyal to Qin. Qin. Could she really be? The answer Xiang Yu wanted was already on the verge of coming out. Ding Shi smiled faintly. It doesn't matter whether it's true or not. Last night, I saw the number of chimneys in the heavenly fortress. Your army is no more than 20,000 people at most. They can't stop the iron hooves of the Xin Legion. Not to mention, there will be 200,000 Blackstone Empire troops coming from behind us. General Xiang Yu is a smart man. Of course, you know what to do. Why didn't Her Highness tell me personally? Xiang Yu asked. Her Highness's words are priceless. How can she tell you this so easily? Xiang Yu, open the gates at noon and surrender. Hand over all your military power to Lord Xin. Perhaps we can contend against the Blackstone Empire by combining our 2 forces. Otherwise, both Shanyang City and Yu City will become dead cities. Please take care. This is also Lord Xin's wish. Xin, Xiang Yu frowned. Xiang Yu, what are you still hesitating for? Ding Shi shouted. Do you want to see a calamity befall the common people? Do you want to defy her will? Don't forget whose vassal you are. Xiang Yu trembled from Ding Shi's shout. After a few seconds, he raised his head and said, There's no need to wait until noon. Lord Ding Shi, please tell her immediately that Xiang Yu is willing to surrender the city. Your army can enter the city at any time. This general will provide shelter, food, and fodder. There are a total of 90,000 troops in Mingshan province, ready to be deployed at any time. Very well. Ding Shi nodded his head with a satisfied smile, spurred his horse forward, patted Xiang Yu's arm, and said with a smile, Don't worry, you won't make a loss in this business. After we recover the Central Plains, your status will only be higher than now. Then, thank you, Lord Ding Shi. I'll go back and report. Have Lord Xiang Yu prepare a meal and welcome her at noon. Yes, this general will obey. At noon, the sun dispersed the fog, and the Xin army entered the Xingtian Pass in a mighty manner. Xiang Yu and a group of imperial generals knelt on both sides of the road and shouted in unison, We kneel to welcome the return of Her Highness the Empress. Riding a fine horse, Xin sensed the people on both sides of the road in astonishment. Finally, she faced Xiang Yu, closed her eyes, and said, I've seen you before. You are Xiang Yu, the Duke of Southern. You may rise. You have an honorable status, so there's no need for you to bow to me. Xiang Yu was stunned, but when he saw a sly smile on Ding Shi's face, he immediately felt that he had fallen into this old fox's trap. Could it be that this girl in front of him wasn't Empress Qin Yin? But looking at her every frown and smile, they were exactly the same. It was impossible for there to be 2 people in this world who were so similar. Forget it, since the city was already opened, it was too late to regret. He would just do as he was told. Chapter 856. Did God Emperor Fuxi ask you to pass this to me? Lin Muyu looked at the ancient book in her hands in astonishment. On it were 5 simple and honest words, shapeless elephant spell. Yes. Scholar Ling Su Hao walked to the edge of the steel wall. The Luo River estuary in the north was lit up by torches. The soldiers were burying the corpses in the Luo River estuary. Otherwise, if the corpses were left to rot, it would cause a plague. Scholar Ling looked at everything that was happening outside calmly. He said softly, "Successor, you are a cultivator with the sovereign persona. The spirits of the world in the three realms can only gather 3 sovereign personas at most. You are one of them. The greatest advantage of a person with the sovereign persona is that he can control the divine wheel." "That's right." Lin Muyu stood up and nodded with a smile. "However, the divine wheel is also somewhat lacking." Scholar Ling smiled. "I know. Every time you use the divine wheel, you will consume a large amount of divine power. You will almost lose your ability to fight, right?" "How do you know?" "This is what His Majesty Celestial Emperor Fuxi told me." "Successor, don't forget that there are 3 people with the sovereign persona. One is you, the other is the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor of East Heaven, and the third is Celestial Emperor Fuxi. These words are also what His Majesty asked me to convey to you." "Okay, go ahead." Lin Muyu began to listen attentively. Scholar Ling put his hands behind his back and looked extremely elegant. He said, "The source of the divine will comes from the purest divine power in the sovereign persona. In essence, it is the power of a momentum. This so-called momentum is beyond the 12 laws. It is similar to domains. The momentum of the world, the momentum of the universe, death and rebirth, blooming and falling are all a kind of momentum. The divine wheel is a kind of power that evolves from the forces in the world. It is vigorous and surging. If you use it well, you will definitely be able to forge the invincible 9 cauldrons." As he spoke, Scholar Ling heaved a sigh of relief and said, "I have already seen the art of the shapeless elephant. Even though I cannot cultivate it due to my physique, I know a thing or two about it. The so-called shapeless elephant refers to the Dharma of all the heavens. It is the way to win by force. Cultivating the shapeless elephant can help you use the spirit will more effectively." As he spoke, Scholar Ling pointed at the ancient book and smiled. This book came from the heaven beyond heavens, created by the Fuxi heavenly monarch. But in this realm, it's probably just a piece of useless paper to the others, but in the hands of the inheritor, it's a treasure. "Okay." Lin Muyu flipped open the book. The handwriting inside was very vigorous and powerful. One could see a person's cultivation from their handwriting. Just by looking at the handwriting, one could see that Fuxi's cultivation was indeed one of the best in the world. There was a table of contents written on the old paper. It was also the 5 levels of the invisible elephant spell: 1 elephant earthly white, 10 elephants punishing the heavens, 100 elephants killing the demon, 1,000 elephants destroying the god, and 10 elephants formless. Scholar Ling seemed to see through his doubts. He smiled and said, "The so-called elephant is the manifestation. The first step to cultivating the invisible elephant spell is to break down the divine will that the air has and transform it into the elephant wheel, which is slightly weaker but more powerful. Only after cultivating the elephant will can you be considered to have completed the first step of the invisible elephant spell. However, this cultivation process is very slow. You cannot rush it." Lin Muyu nodded and said with a serious look, "Su Hao, if I successfully cultivate the invisible elephant spell, will my strength also increase greatly?" "Maybe." "Why do you ask?" Lin Muyu looked in the direction of the north and said, "Because there are too many powerful enemies there. If I can't break through to the Divine King realm, I am afraid that I will not be a match for them at all. You also know that Bai Minghuan, the marshal of the Tianji Empire, is a god emperor. I could not even take 3 attacks from him before I was defeated." Scholar Ling smiled and said, Don't worry. Don't forget that the invisible elephant spell is Heaven Sovereign Fuxi's unique skill. As long as you successfully cultivate it, even if you are only in the Divine King realm, you will be able to challenge that so-called God Emperor Bai Minghuan." "Okay." Lin Muyu's heart stirred a little. She said, "Then I'll prepare to cultivate in seclusion for a few days. You, Wu Tong, and Jing Jian will help me guard the steel wall. We can't let the Tianji Empire's iron hooves take another step south." "Yes, Your Highness." Lin Muyu walked down the wall. Wei Chou was guarding under the torch. He said respectfully, "Your Highness, General Feng, Ouyang Yan, and Chu have already led 50,000 elite cavalry into the Cangnan province. They will reach the Cloud province in 5 days at most. But, we have no cavalry here anymore. Almost all the horses have been taken away by them. It's okay." Lin Muyu waved her hand and said, "There will be no more field battles in the Luo River estuary. Pass down my order, replenish the shells of the magic crystal cannons. For now, we only need to guard the steel wall. Wei Chou, I am going to cultivate in seclusion soon. You can discuss the defense in the Luo River estuary with Aunt Lien, Lord Fan, and Xiao Shi. Don't come to me." "Yes." Wei Chou looked up and asked, "Your Highness, how long are you going to cultivate in seclusion?" "At most a month, at least half a month." "Yes." Lin Muyu chose the basement below the steel wall for his seclusion. Originally, this place was used to store food and weapons. But after this battle, almost all the weapons and food were used up. Instead, these underground secret rooms were empty. Choosing the deepest secret room, Lin Muyu entered the secret room in the afternoon with the invisible elephant technique. Until evening, he sat motionlessly in the secret room. There was not a single ray of light in the surroundings. Only a faint golden light slowly seeped out from his body. The formless elephant chant was profound and difficult to comprehend. Lin Muyu had only scratched the surface of it and started to circulate the divine power in her 8 extraordinary meridians according to the chant. It was as if she had given up on the foundation of martial arts that she had been practicing for many years. The entire set of circulation routes were very unique. Just like that, she completed one cycle after another. There was already a lot of sweat on his face, but he still could not see through it. Until late at night, suddenly, his soul became clear. Waves rose in his high. Lin Muyu could not help but be secretly happy. Finally, there was improvement. Deep in his high, there was a ray of light, like a huge wheel. It was the divine wheel. But this time, the divine wheel was completely different from before. After Lin Muyu used the invisible elephant technique, the divine wheel instantly transformed into 2, then 4, and more. Very quickly, there were 32 wheel prints. In the high, the wheel prints intertwined with each other, as if they were natural, forming a huge wheel print tower. Lin Muyu was so excited that his whole body was trembling. This wheel print tower slowly rotated in his high, as if it was the ruler of heaven and earth. Lin Muyu had cultivated for many years, but he had never seen such a strong righteous qi. The golden tower emitted rays of golden light, like silk ribbons, and the power within it was amazing. This was not a true understanding of the power of the invisible elephant technique, because the basic power of the invisible elephant technique came from the elephant divine power, and the elephant divine power came from the divine wheel. Only by transforming the power of the divine will into the elephant divine power could one be considered to have completed the basic cultivation. But this step was impossible for Lin Muyu at present. He took a deep breath and continued to use the invisible elephant technique. Immediately, the tower in his high continued to rotate. Every time it rotated, the power of the tower increased by 1 level, and the golden light also became stronger. Just like this, he did not know how many times it had rotated. Until the sky gradually brightened, the tower in Lin Muyu's high was shining with golden light. The light was already dazzling as the bright morning sun. Phew, he took a deep breath and absorbed the power into his body. At this time, the tower in his high also began to disintegrate. The power of the tower came from the divine wheel, and the disintegration of the tower also meant that the power of the divine will was beginning to disintegrate into smaller units. Strands of divine power seeped into the 8 extraordinary meridians, making him feel extremely comfortable. Lin Muyu could not help but let out a cry. He opened his eyes. The secret room was dark, and there was no one to disturb him. And the power in the meridians began to gather like a torrential river. He slowly opened his palm, and strands of divine power began to gather in the meridians. Very quickly, they gathered in the meridians in the palm. When a faint yellow light came out of the meridians, it was a pleasant surprise. And the color of this light became darker and darker, gradually changing from the original lustrous color to a deeper golden color. Then, with a pu sound, it dispersed into the surrounding air. Success, this was the true elephant divine power, an existence that was completely different from the ordinary divine power. Lin Muyu was wild with joy. In just a short night, he had actually completed the transformation of the divine will power. The next step should be to recondense the elephant divine power into the form of the wheel seal, and that would be the elephant wheel. At this time, he also realized that his clothes were already drenched. God knows how much sweat he had shed during this night of training, and his stomach was also growling with hunger. He got up and took the dishes that the servant at the small door of the secret room had sent over. It was already cold, but he only needed to slightly circulate his power to condense the law of fire, and in a few seconds, it would be warm and fragrant again. After eating his fill, he did not stop to meditate again, and began a new round of training. He was too thirsty for power. The sooner he mastered the invisible elephant technique, the faster he could change the situation. However, Lin Muyu did not know that the flames of war had already started in the northern border of the empire, and this fire had almost burned half of the empire's sky red. Bang bang bang, the magic crystal cannons exploded on the snowy plains, bringing with them billowing thick smoke, but the effect of the magic crystal cannons was greatly weakened by the Dragon Knight's Dragon Imperial spin, so the opponent did not suffer much damage at all. Bastard! On the high walls of the city, an imperial guard pulled out his sword and said in a low voice, "You must defend the subduing wolf pass for me. Behind you is the Mu city. As soldiers, we will not let our home fall into the hands of the evil soldiers." Hong! A giant dragon descended from the sky, and a scorching hot dragon breath flowed past. In an instant, the guard and the surrounding soldiers were turned into miserable white bones. In the distance, a figure swept over, and with a light slash of his sword, the city gate was opened. The northern gate of the empire was easily blasted open. Chapter 857. Empire Calendar Year 7742, May 7th, snow falling in the north. It was snowing heavily in the cold Mu city. Although it was normal for snow to fall in Mu city, it was already May. It was not normal for it to snow. It was noisy in the city. The sound of horses' hooves, quarrels, orders, and the crying of the common people were all mixed together. The news of the 4 northern passes of Cloud Province had been lost came one after another. The people in the city had heard about the massacre in Lincoln Province. The legend of the eastern barbarians who attacked made many people cry every night. Now it was too late to escape. Mu City, known as one of the 7 famous cities of the empire, did not look like a prosperous city, but more like a graveyard. On the city wall, snow was falling, and the snowflakes fell on the shoulder armor. Luo Xian brushed the snow off her shoulder and put her hand on her sword. She looked anxiously at the people who were trying to escape on the main street. She could not help but frown. The people are in a mess. Su Zhangyan, the deputy commander of the Iron Blade Army, said. Yes, it is a mess. Luo Xian said lightly, Deputy Commander Su, take some people to comfort the people. Tell them that the 200,000 soldiers of the Iron Blade Army will live and die with Mu City. Moreover, the 3 princes will send reinforcements soon. Cloud Province will not be lost. Yes, I will do it right now. Su Zhangyan quickly flew down the city wall. Luo Xian looked at his back and couldn't help but sigh. Su Zhangyan was the distant nephew of her foster father, Su Muyan. He was also one of the few remaining generals of the Su clan. She really hoped that he would be able to overcome this crisis. Otherwise, the Su clan of the Cloud Province would become history, and she would be one of the gravestones of this period of history. Outside the city, the sound of horses' hooves could be heard. A light cavalry quickly stopped, grabbed the rope at the edge of the city wall, and climbed up like a monkey. He knelt on one knee and said respectfully, Greetings, Master Xian. No need to stand on ceremony. Is there any news? Yes. The cavalry said in a low voice. They are already 50 miles away. There are at least 100,000 people, and there are about 50 dragon knights. There is an endless stream of people behind them. I cannot count them clearly. In addition, I saw another army of a different race. Whose army? Northern Desert Wolf soldiers. What? Luo Xian's body trembled slightly. Are you saying that the wolf soldiers of the Northern Desert are with the people of the Empire of Tianji? Yes. The cavalryman frowned and said, after the Long Ji army annihilated the demon race in the northern polar region, they disappeared without a trace for nearly half a month. This subordinate guessed that during this half a month, they must have annihilated the northern desert while waiting for reinforcements. Now it seems that the northern desert has already surrendered to the Tianji Empire, otherwise those wolf soldiers would not listen to the Tianji Empire's orders. A bunch of fence-sitters. Luo Xian punched the battlements hard, causing the broken stones to fly in all directions. She said angrily, "Damn the northern desert. Every year, we send them so many gold and silver gifts, brocades and satin, but they surrender to the kingdom of Tianji so easily. Damn it. If I had known this, I would have asked for permission to go to the northern desert and uprooted them." As he said this, he paused to calm down and said, "How many wolf soldiers did you see?" I couldn't tell at first glance, but they covered the entire wandering plain. If I'm not mistaken, the number of wolf soldiers is at least over 100,000. These beasts have burned, killed and looted along the way. Our 4 states and 23 counties in the north have been deeply harmed. Wherever the wolf soldiers went, there was devastation and countless casualties. Luo Xian trembled with anger. She closed her eyes and said to the sky, "Father, Luo Xian has let you down. I can't believe I couldn't protect your people. I'm too useless." As she said this, Luo Xian shook her robe sleeves and turned to the group of generals behind her. She shouted in a low voice, "Pass down my order. Prepare for war. We would rather die than surrender." "Yes, father." Everyone knelt down on one knee, looked up at Luo Xian and said in unison, "We pledge our lives to serve our country. As long as the city lives, we live. If the city falls, we die." At dusk, the snow was getting heavier and heavier. It fell to the ground like goose feathers, making a rustling sound. Outside the Twilight City, more and more troops were gathering. They did not face any resistance and did not show any signs of attacking the city. They just set up a few hundred camps far away from the Twilight City, surrounding the city so tightly that not even a drop of water could pass through. Tonight, it seemed like the Long Ji army did not intend to attack the city. Inside the tent, snow was constantly falling from the entrance of the tent, and a bonfire inside the tent was providing warmth for everyone. On the bonfire, there was a roasted cow that was about to be cooked, and it was sizzling with oil. A middle-aged general sat on the commander's seat. He was wearing a commander's armor. He was the commander of the Long Ji army, Fang Lan. Another seat was arranged for him to sit on the same level. It was none other than the Dragon Rider General, Lin Tongtian. Below the commander's seat were a few deputy commanders of the Long Ji army and captaincy. Then, there were a few people of different races in leather robes. One of them, who wore a crown on his head, was the leader of the Northern Desert Tribe, Big Wolf Lord Mo Dun Modu. "We'll start attacking the city tomorrow morning." Fang Lan took the warm wine from the maid and smiled. The Twilight City is an important city of the Qin Empire. It is rich and sturdy. It is known as one of the 7 famous cities. The general guarding the city is Luo Xian, the adopted son of Su Muyun. It is said that he is also a famous general of the Qin Empire. Who will fight the first battle? The group of captaincy of the Long Ji army was solemn. No one said a word. Fang Lan smiled and said, "Great Wolf Lord Mao Dun, you are the chief of the wolf tribe of the Northern Desert and an ally of our empire of Tianji. Since we have made an agreement, it is time for your tribe to fulfill it. Why don't you, let your 150,000 wolf soldiers be the first to attack Mu City. What do you think, Great Wolf Lord Mao Dun? Mo Dun was slightly stunned. A few of his subordinates were also shocked and unwilling. After a few seconds, Mo Dun bowed respectfully and said, Lord Fong Lan, we, the wolf soldiers, have come from afar. We are not used to the climate here. Besides, many of us have not had a full meal for many days. Why don't you let your army attack first? We will be ready after some rest. Is that so? Fong Lan smiled faintly. I heard that the tribes of the northern desert graze in the summer and fall and raid in the spring and winter. You must be having a hard time. Look at the vast farmlands around the Twilight City. If we can make it the fiefdom of your wolf soldiers, you can farm here. You can also have the women of the Central Plains to warm your tents. How great would that be? Mo Dun clenched his teeth and remained silent. Fong Lan continued, since the Northern Desert Wolf tribe has decided to serve the Tianji Empire, why are you hesitating? Big Wolf Lord Mo Dun, I promise that if you can take down the Twilight City, I will give this city to you. I will also give you half of the 14 prefectures of the Cloud Province as a reward. What do you think? Mo Dun was shocked. The Northern Desert had been coveting the Cloud Province for thousands of years. How tempting was that? But Mo Dun also knew that the person guarding the city was the famous general of the empire, Luo Xian. The 200,000 steel blade army under him was the main force of the empire. How could his 150,000 wolf soldiers take over the Twilight City from Luo Xian? Give me an answer. Lin Tongtian seemed a little impatient. He said, don't let the Tianji Empire think that our ally is useless. You can't do anything and only know how to waste food. Mo Dun clenched his teeth. I will go. My 150,000 wolf soldiers will attack the city with me, but you must provide us with siege weapons. In addition, you must let my wolf soldiers eat their fill. Even if I have to let them die, I will let them die with a full stomach. Don't worry about that. Fong Lan smiled. Someone, send an order to the supply department to slaughter cattle and sheep. Let the wolf soldiers eat their fill tonight. Tomorrow morning will be the time for them to fight the enemy. Yes, Commander. Mo Dun's face was livid. He didn't say anything else. Late at night, deep in the wolf soldiers' camp, inside the main tent of the big wolf camp, Mo Dun didn't say anything. He looked very old. The generals' faces were also pale. One of them said, Great Wolf Lord, the walls of the Twilight City are more than 20 meters tall. The soldiers and food in the city are good. They also have those terrifying cannons that can spit fire. If we attack the city rashly, we will be sending our wolf soldiers to their deaths. Humph, the people of the Tianji Empire deserve death. They are just using the wolf soldiers to waste the cannons in the city. The Tianji Empire only treats us as a tool. When did they ever treat us as an ally? Mo Dun said calmly, I know. There's no need to say any more. We will attack the city tomorrow morning. Let the 1st and 3rd Battalion attack until noon. If they can't take the city by then, retreat. If we lose more than 50,000 people, retreat as well. Then what do we tell Fong Lan? Humph. A cold light flashed in Mao Duan's eyes as he said, we wolves are wolves, and Fong Lan only treats us like dogs. Don't worry, Fong Lan only has 150,000 soldiers. After they take over a city, they will need to leave people to defend it, and we wolf soldiers are the best defenders. If Fong Lan isn't stupid, he won't just watch as 150,000 wolf soldiers go to their deaths. Yes, I understand. Sleep early. Tomorrow is the day we go into battle. Mo Dun's face was cold. He said, one day, I will make Fong Lan and Lin Tongtian regret this. The next morning, the snow finally stopped. When the morning light shone on the snow-covered city of Mu City, the conch horn sounded in the distance. Dense numbers of wolf soldiers pushed the siege equipment straight towards the city wall. A great battle was about to break out. Clang! Luo Xian pulled out her sword. She shouted, "Prepare for battle." The people on the city walls started to get busy. The archers quickly drew their arrows. The magic crystal cannons started to calibrate. They aimed at the preset positions below the city walls. They were just waiting for the enemy to enter their firing range. The wolf soldiers held a round shield in one hand and a curved blade in the other. They were covered in fur armor. They roared and hit the round shields with their curved blades. The clanging sounds echoed through the sky. Chapter 858. At dusk, the siege lasted for an entire day. Finally, the wolf soldiers retreated like the tide, leaving behind crisscrossed magic crystal cannon craters and countless corpses. Pillars of smoke rose into the sky, but the Long Ji army camp in the distance was indescribably quiet. They only allowed the wolf soldiers to attack the city, but they did not make any movements. What are they trying to do? Luo Xian punched the battlement of the city wall, causing the snow to fly. They are using the northern desert wolf soldiers to consume our cannons. Su Zhangyan's face was pale. He looked at the enemy camp in the distance and said, "In just one day, we have used up half of the magic crystal cannon ammunition." The Muyu city originally did not have much ammunition. I am afraid that when the sun rises tomorrow, Fang Lan will personally lead the Long Ji army to attack the city. Once the magic crystal cannons are used up, we will no longer have the power to resist. And Master Xian, you have also seen, they did not even send out a single dragon knight to assist the wolf soldiers. Cunning and shameless Fang Lan. Luo Xian's eyes were deep. He said, "How long until the reinforcements arrive?" "Not long ago, we received a letter saying that His Highness Feng Jixing is leading 50,000 cavalry at full speed, but the mounts need to rest, and there are no replacement horses along the way, so the speed is rather slow, and the snow is blocking the way into the Jianghu province, so it will take about 3 days to reach the Muyu city." 3 days. Luo Xian was at a loss. Can we hold on for more than 3 days? Do your best. We have 200,000 elite steel blade army. There is no reason for us to sit and wait for death. Yes, there is no reason for us to sit and wait for death. Luo Xian clenched his fist. His eyes shot out a ray of light. He said, "Pass down the order. Just say that Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu are leading 200,000 troops to reinforce the Muyu city. They will arrive in 2 days. Let the soldiers defend the city with all their might. Once the two highnesses arrive, the Tianji Empire will definitely collapse without a fight." Yes, this subordinate understands. Tianju Province, Meizhou, Fairy Lake. The sound of hooves could be heard as rows of cavalrymen with purple flower emblems on their chests galloped past the lake. Their vigorous figures were reflected in the lake water. These were the last elite cavalrymen of the empire. Feng Jixing urged his horse forward slowly, followed by Zhang Wei, Luo Yu, and the other deputy commanders of the imperial army. "What lake is this?" he asked suddenly. "Your Highness, it is the northern shore of the Fairy Lake," Luo Yu said respectfully. "Fairy Lake?" Feng Jixing's sword-like brows furrowed tightly as he muttered, "Back then, His Majesty met with misfortune here. Sai, Jinan King Qin Yi caused a 10-year catastrophe for the common people with a single thought. Is this throne really that easy to sit on?" Zhang Wei laughed. "I'm afraid that might not be the case. His Majesty, the Radiant King, has already drowned in the Fairy Lake, and Her Highness Yin's life and death are unknown for the sake of the Empire. How many people sitting on the throne will have a good ending?" Taking out a crumpled map from his pocket, Feng Jixing glanced at it and said, "Pass down the order to speed up the march. I'm afraid that the Tianji Empire's soldiers are already attacking Muyu City." "Yes," Luo Yu nodded. "This subordinate will pass down the order to the front army to speed up. Don't mess up the formation." Feng Jixing had always been prudent when it came to using troops. He pondered for a moment and said, "Maintain the center army as the core. The front, back, left, and right armies must surround and protect each other. Every direction must send out 15 scouts to investigate. Do not act rashly at any time." "Yes, this subordinate understands." Luo Yu's eyes were full of admiration. In terms of the ability to command, in the Qin Empire, only Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing were worthy of his admiration. Lin Muyu was good at using troops and strategies. She often attacked when the enemy was unprepared and won unexpected victories. However, once her strategy was seen through, she would probably be defeated. On the other hand, Feng Jixing's fighting style was completely different. Feng Jixing was calmer. Every time the army marched, he would divide the left and right armies to reinforce each other. He would also send out a large number of scouts to increase the vision of the entire army. It was also because of this style that Feng Jixing had never been defeated in a surprise attack. It was very difficult for an enemy to break the formation of the army commanded by Feng Jixing. On the side, Chu Chu was dressed in a white robe and riding a thin horse with a calm expression. He was not fat, and he used the ability to fly. The warhorse did not have to bear much weight, so naturally, the pressure was not great. He looked at everything around him indifferently and did not say anything. Feng Jixing then asked, "Chu, you are a veteran of 3 dynasties. Don't you have anything to say regarding the current situation?" Chu Chu smiled and said, "General Feng, you are both famous generals of the empire. However, since the start of the war in the Celestial Pole, you have never won again. 2 generals who always win have become generals who always lose. Have you ever thought about why?" Feng Jixing was a little embarrassed and said, "Chu is right. Actually, I have also thought about it. Strength is part of it, but there is another factor that always makes me feel powerless. However, I can't tell what it is. It's the hearts of the people." Chu Chu went straight to the point and said, "After the 3 kings ruled the world, the people in the world are no longer loyal. You see, the main forces of the empire are doing their own things, and their joint combat ability is completely unable to be demonstrated. What is more fatal is the local armies of the various prefectures and prefectures. The thieves of the Tianji Empire rarely encountered any resistance along the way, and the prefectural armies surrendered at the first sign of trouble. What does this mean? It means that the people in the world are not loyal, and they don't know who they are fighting for." Feng Jixing was a little silent. Chu Chu's words were like a sharp knife stabbing into his heart. It was true that the people in the world were not loyal. How could they fight this war? He gently cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Please teach me." Chu Chu gently stroked his beard and said, "There are 2 ways. One is for you to proclaim himself emperor and change his surname to Qin. The people in the world will still recognize only one emperor, and that is the Qin family. The world will still belong to the Qin family." "That's impossible." Feng Jixing shook his head and said, "Don't you understand Yu's personality? Proclaiming himself king was already his bottom line. He had always felt that he was honoring his promise to His Majesty Qin Jin, that he would protect Her Highness Yin's kingdom. To have him overstep his bounds and proclaim himself emperor was worse than killing him. Chu, why don't you tell me the other way? The other way is for Her Highness Yin to return. That's as good as not saying anything." Feng Jixing laughed bitterly and said, "If Her Highness Yin can return, Feng Jixing, am willing to exchange my life for her ruling the world. But no one knows where Her Highness Yin is. Perhaps, she has already passed away, yes." Chu Chu took a deep breath and said, "But it's too important to follow the hearts of the people. If General Feng thinks that these 2 ways are not feasible, we can think of another way to rule the country." "Chu, please say it. Immediately write a letter to you and let him do it. Send an edict to all the feudal princes and order them to recruit their own troops and resist the invading bandits. All the seized territories will be divided into their fiefs. All the armies of the Qin Empire will change their names and call themselves the Qin Army. Let them know that they are the army of the Qin family. The names of those who died in battle will be listed on the national monument. Allow the feudal princes to recruit troops." Feng Jixing was startled. Countless thoughts flew through his mind and he said, "This method is feasible, but, if the feudal princes are allowed to recruit troops, I'm afraid that it will be difficult to clean up the Tianji Empire even after we destroy it. The feudal princes are ambitious. If we let them have troops and become stronger, it will be difficult for us to control them. Chu Chu smiled and said, this is better than the Qin family being destroyed, right? Feng Jixing also smiled and said, okay, I understand. Write a letter and send it to you. Let him, the king of Qin, handle this matter. I believe that you will also agree to this proposal. Okay. Chu Chu took a deep look at the north and said, the three major provinces of the empire, Yunzhong, Tongtian, and Linкong, have been invaded by bandits. In the blink of an eye, we have lost nearly 30 provinces. If we can't make good use of the local armies of the various provinces, it will indeed be difficult to resist the powerful bandits. Okay, I understand. After writing the letter, a messenger bird flew straight to the east, which was the direction of Winter Frost City. It seemed that the future of the entire Qin Empire was also tied to the wings of this small messenger bird. Soon after, a messenger came galloping with a flustered look on his face. He held the letter in his hand and said loudly, Your Highness Prince Xian, a letter written by Duke Luo Xian of Twilight Rain City. Give it to me. Feng Jixing reached out and grabbed the letter. He opened it and read it carefully. His expression changed dramatically. What's wrong, Your Highness? Zhang Wei and Luo Yu asked at the same time. Twilight Rain City is surrounded on all sides. There are 150,000 Long Ji army and 150,000 wolf soldiers surrounding the city. In addition, there are no less than 100 dragon knights helping them. Most of the dragon knights from the Battle of the Luo River estuary have already gone to reinforce the Long Ji army. Zhang Wei held the hilt of his sword and said, Then let's speed up. Maybe we can reach Twilight Rain City in a day and a half. It's not too late. Luo Xian has 200,000 steel blade soldiers. They won't be killed in a few moves. As long as we are fast enough, we should be able to catch up. When the time comes, we can coordinate from the inside and outside and kill the Long Ji army. It's too late. Feng Jixing shook his head and said, We can't even fight our way in. Moreover, we may be ambushed by the bandits outside. Moreover, we don't have any magic crystal crossbows. The number of dragon knights is enough to destroy us. Then what should we do? Zhang Wei was shocked. Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and took out the crumpled map again. He said resolutely, Order everyone to drop their armors and supplies and advance at full speed. We will go around Twilight Rain City. We must reach Wolf Subduing Pass in 2 days and take it down. Attack Wolf Subduing Pass? Zhang Wei was shocked. Then we don't want Twilight Rain City anymore? We don't care about Luo Xian's life? Luo Yu laughed at the side. Your Highness has a brilliant plan. Attacking Wolf Subduing Pass might save Twilight Rain City. Zhang Wei was confused. What are you talking about? I don't understand at all. Chapter 859. Luo Yu rode his horse forward and patted Zhang Wei's shoulder lightly. He smiled and said, Don't think about it if you don't understand. Hurry up and urge the army to enter Cloud Province before nightfall. We must reach Wolf Subduing Pass within 2 days. All right. Zhang Wei held his steel saber and thought for a while, but he was still confused. He immediately shouted, Brats, don't be lazy. Hurry up and march faster. We must enter the Cloud Ridge before nightfall. Otherwise, I will beat your butts into mush. As he spoke, Zhang Wei was still unwilling to give up. He urged his horse to catch up and said, Luo Yu, don't keep me in suspense. Tell me quickly, what's going on with His Highness's strategy? Why are we attacking Wolf Subduing Pass instead of Muyu City? It's very simple. But if I tell you, you owe me a meal of dog meat and wine. How about that? All right. Hurry up and tell me, you brat. Ha ha ha. Luo Yu laughed heartily, then raised his hand and drew a circle in the air. He said, The map of Cloud Province is like this. The entire Cloud Province is surrounded by Cloud Ridge, like a huge wash basin. There is only one exit north of this wash basin, and that is Wolf-Subduing Pass. This Wolf-Subduing Pass was originally built for the Northern Desert Wolf tribe, but now it has become the northern gate of Cloud Province. Old Zhang, think about it. If we attack Wolf-Subduing Pass and close the gate, what will happen to the hundreds of thousands of Long Ji soldiers deep inside Cloud Province? Zhang Wei's eyes lit up. You mean, this is equivalent to closing the gate and beating the dogs? Yes. Luo Yu nodded and smiled. As long as we take down the Wolf-Subduing Pass and cut off their route of retreat and food supply, it will create a strong sense of claustrophobia for the wolf soldiers and the Long Ji army. Any expeditionary force is most afraid of this kind of situation where their route of retreat is cut off. As long as that bastard Fong Lan is not stupid, he will definitely send a large number of troops to take down the Wolf-Subduing Pass. We can then make use of the mobility of the cavalry to lead them around the world of ice and snow in the northern region. Going back and forth, even if he does not die of exhaustion, he will starve to death. On one hand, we can solve the siege of Mu City, and on the other hand, we can eliminate this group of eastern barbarians who entered Yunzhong province without any bloodshed. Zhang Wei was filled with admiration. He gave a thumbs up and said, Luo Yu, you're really full of tricks. Tell me, why can't I, old Zhang, think of this method? Both you and Prince Xian are really full of evil ideas, able to think of all sorts of ideas. Humph, Luo Yu glared at him and said, if it were you, what kind of strategy would you think of? Me? Zhang Wei thought about it and said, directly kill our way over and kill all the barbarians of Tianji Nation. Kill their entire families and *ck their women. This is what a man should do. Luo Yu touched her nose. Although it sounds very straightforward, it's definitely not what a benevolent general would do. You can say these things to me, but don't ever tell Prince Xian or His Highness Prince Qin. Otherwise, they'll definitely give you 5,000 lashes and give you a quick death. Zhang Wei grinned. Don't mention it. Regardless of whether it's working under Prince Xian or Prince Yu, there aren't any benefits. There's no good wine or women. Every day, we're just a bunch of men huddling together and eating leftovers. To be honest, we're too useless as soldiers. Look at you. You're so capable, but what kind of life do you live? Luo Yu was stunned. Don't tell me that you're disloyal. Do you want to rely on Xing Yifan or Xiang Yu? Only if I die. Zhang Wei grinned. Although it's tough for me to follow General Feng, I feel at ease. After going through so much suffering, I'll be able to gain a good reputation as an empire's warrior. Say, if I really die on the battlefield one day and my name is written on the front row of the nation-suppressing monument, will those singers in Lanyan City who once slept with me feel very gratified when they see my name? They'll remember me as a great hero? Maybe. Luo Yu smiled faintly and said, don't think too much, brother. A scourge like you will bring harm for 1,000 years. It won't be so easy for you to die. The singers in Lanyan City are still waiting for you to patronize them. Zhang Wei held his battle saber and looked at the muddy water splashed by the horse's hooves. He seemed to be in a daze as he said, I, Zhang Wei, have been muddle-headed my entire life, relying on my fists to bully others and to win my dignity. I've never known about the affairs of the country or the righteousness of the nation. It was only when I became a soldier that I understood what was going on. If I really die on the battlefield. Luo Yu, you must remember to help me go to the imperial capital Spring in a few more times and help me drink a few more times. Luo Yu sneered and said, idiot. You won't die. After the war is over, I'll accompany you to the Spring Inn. I won't go back on my word. Alright, let's go together. Call Prince Xian along. Shoo, lower your voice. However, it seemed that Feng Jixing had already heard them. Without even turning his head, he said, I'm not going. If anyone wants to go, the two of you can go. I, Feng Jixing, am a decent person. Zhang Wei and Luo Yu exchanged glances and smiled. There was a limit to how decent this decent person could be. North of the eastern capital, the Luo River estuary stronghold was quiet. In the secret room, Lin Muyu, who was cultivating in seclusion, had already entered the crucial stage of cultivating the formless elephant art. In the dark secret room, only his beer was emitting a faint glow. In his EC, a total of 128 streams of elephant wool divine power were intertwined, forming a 12-story pagoda. The pagoda was slowly rotating in the air above his EC. Streams of divine power entered the bottom of the pagoda from his EC, flowing through the 12 stories, and finally soared into the sky, turning into a stream of power that shot into his meridians. With every circulation, the power of the pagoda would increase. After 128 circulations, finally, Lin Muyu slowly opened his eyes. Lin Muyu could feel that his essence core was extremely full. He couldn't help but smile. He opened his right palm, and a stream of golden divine power gushed out from his meridians, gradually forming a miniature divine will filled with divine power in the air. The divine will was circular, and in the middle was the image of a Shiji mythological beast. It couldn't be seen clearly, but it must have followed the natural laws and condensed the image of an ancient beast. Buzz! This real elephant will spun rapidly in the air, stirring up an awe-inspiring wave of divine power. It actually destroyed all the nearby walls with a peng-peng-peng sound. Lin Muyu was overjoyed. The power of this elephant will was much inferior to that of a complete divine wheel. It was about 10% of the strength of a complete divine wheel, but the consumption of divine power was also a lot less. According to his current cultivation, even if he condensed this kind of elephant will 1,000 times, his divine power would not be exhausted. Moreover, the elephant will faintly revealed the way of kingship and domineering, which was even more incomparable to the original divine wheel. It seemed like the shapeless elephant formula had finally made some progress. He had already entered the first level of heaven, the one elephant white earth. As his cultivation deepened, he could condense more and more elephant wheels in an instant. When he reached 10 elephant wheels, it would be the second level of the 10 elephants punishing heaven. If one elephant will was already so powerful, how strong would 10, 100, 1,000, and 10,000 be? How strong would it be? Lin Muyu didn't dare to think about it. He took a deep breath, and a joyful sound came from his body. The waves in his meridians were endless, and he actually broke through the second level of the Grotto Heaven realm without a sound. He had already entered the 27th level of the Grotto Heaven realm. Just like what Scholar Ling said, this profound martial art came from the human realm beyond heavens, and it would be of great benefit to his cultivation of the Supreme Godhead. Your Highness, are you all right? The Imperial Guard Captain Bai Yin's voice came from outside. The collapse of the secret chamber had alerted him. I'm fine. Lin Muyu turned around and flew down from the bed. She opened the door and walked out. She asked, Bai Yin, is everything all right outside? There's only one small matter. His Highness Feng Jixing has sent a letter. It's about the Imperial Edict. Oh. I'll go take a look. Yes. Has His Highness finished his closed-door cultivation? Only a little. Let's take a look at Big Brother Feng's letter first. Yes. When Lin Muyu entered the meeting hall, Tang Xiaoxi, Chu Yao, and Xing Yifan were slightly stunned. They could all see that Lin Muyu's aura and temperament had changed a little. They couldn't tell what the change was, but they felt that it was developing in a good direction. It seems like your shapeless elephant art has made some progress. Tang Xiaoxi smiled. Lin Muyu took Feng Jixing's letter from her hands. She nodded and smiled. I've finally seen the door. At least I know what the shapeless elephant art is. That's good. Everyone's waiting for you. After carefully reading Feng Jixing's letter word by word, Lin Muyu frowned. Everyone's finished reading, right? Speak if you have any opinions. Xing Yifan said, why don't you express your opinion first? What do you think of His Highness Feng Jixing's strategy of allowing the feudal vassals to recruit troops, attack, and expand their fiefs? Very good. This will mobilize the enthusiasm of the feudal vassals. It's better than having a few armies fight one-sidedly. Lin Muyu pressed the letter on the table. I agree. What do Master Fan and Aunt AI think? Su'er said, I don't have any opinions either. Zheng Yifan pondered for a moment. It's easy to let a tiger return to the mountain, but it's hard to chase a tiger back into the cage. I'm just worried that it'll be difficult to take back the military power in the future. It might even cause the Empire's power to be unable to be centralized again. Your Highness, we need to give this matter further thought. I know. Lin Muyu said in a low voice. But there's no better way at the moment. As long as we can defeat the Tianji Empire, I'll try any dangerous method. Issue the edict immediately. Do everything you can to send the edict to the highest officials in all the prefectures and prefectures. Also, change the name of the Empire's army to the Qin Army. We're the army of the Qin clan, and we fight for the Qin clan. Yes, I understand. Chu Yao stood up. She was wearing an elegant white robe. She smiled gently. You've come out of seclusion. Tell me, what do you want to eat for lunch? I'll prepare it for you right away. Anything is fine. I'll eat whatever Sister Chu Yao cooks. Hee, you're such a sweet talker. Chu Yao turned around and left. Tang Xiaoxi walked closer and smiled. Mu, let me see how powerful the invisible elephant spell is. Right here? What else? All right then. Lin Muyu took a few steps back and suddenly let out a low roar. Suddenly, the aura between heaven and earth seemed to gather around his body. The ground under his feet was covered with a layer of frost-like substance, and a golden elephant wool slowly gathered under his feet. For a moment, Tang Xiaoxi, Zheng Yifan, and the others almost couldn't breathe. The power of this aura seemed to be superior to the immortal realm. I'm done. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. Lin Muyu dispersed his power. Immediately, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Zheng Yifan remained silent. Many years ago, with Lin Muyu's cultivation, he probably couldn't even block one of his fingers. But now, if Lin Muyu were to use his full power, he probably wouldn't even be able to block 3 of her attacks. Time had changed too quickly. You're tuning into the Carefree Valley YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.